If you want to start us off, Luke.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Luke.
And I am Mike.
Listen up, motherfuckers. We are the co hosts of the L.U.M podcast out of the beautiful and trendy, sexy Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on a hot August 18th in the year of our Lord 2026. Now, we are back after the Wisconsin primary. It did not go our way.
Nah.
Um, well, the moderate Dems did what the moderate Dems did, what they do. They united, showed teeth that they typically don't ever have, to take out the left candidates. And that is, that is the way the cookie is crumbled. So that was disappointing. But we're still going to, at least I am, I believe Mike is going to as well. We are going to be voting for and supporting David Crowley. The sitting and outgoing lame duck governor, Tony Evers, made some comments about the Hong camp, saying that they'll have to play along. Didn't appreciate that shit. He also mentioned that is David going to support some of the things that sure, depends on what some of the things are, but it really sounded like get in line losers, which is the same taste in my mouth of 2016 when Bloomberg got in the race against Bernie and or Secretary Clinton got in the race. And they united it together to destroy Bernie's chances, and they fucked him out of a primary again because they were worried he couldn't win, which is bullshit. It really is bullshit. The person who can win is the one who gets the more support. All right. And some of us who want actual reforms were very, very disappointed by it. I was personally very disappointed by the pollsters who can't seem to predict a single thing right these days. Whatever algos you guys are using, whatever tech is being used to figure out these polls and generate these statuses is really, really becoming unreliable. And that's incredibly disappointing too. So that is the state of affairs, and it's obviously disappointing, but David Crowley will be eons better than Tom Tiffany, who is a Kevin Spacey's evil and creepier looking cousin.
I was gonna go Timu.
Facially speaking.
Timu Tom.
Yeah, Kevin Spacey.
Spacey.
Yes. This guy is an absolute shahid. He is a pure 100% full to the right fascist maggot. And he is pro data center. He is pro business. He is pro tariffs. Moron. Our economy is in the shitter because you have tariffs. You moron. Do you remember when your idiot president tariffed everybody, including an island that has only inhabited by penguins? Even if tariffs were a good idea, the way that they've been done is just plain stupid. I don't get it. Like, it really boggles my mind how people can continue to defend this guy when he is a walking diaper full of stupid. I just don't get it. Additionally, speaking of tariffs, I believe there's some tariffs that are going to be kicking back in on Canada. I believe they were 28%. Bless you, Mike. I believe they were 28% on all Canadian goods, including whiskey and hockey sticks and other things, which, good God. And the sad thing is this, actually. I'm smiling because it's like laugh or cry. And also because I got my buddy here today. We are joined in the stream by Teddy Graham. He is my very, very mentally unwell pit bull. He's scared of everything. Right, Yugi, buddy? Oh, yeah, that's my good boy. So that's my good boy, Teddy. And Mike is right now ready to kill me because I just messed up the capture window.
No, you're good. Everything looks fine.
Sorry, Mike.
I have it
But
centered just on you. So when you move the camera, it doesn't change that centering.
gotcha. All right.
I
So,
kind of know what I'm doing.
um, again, I'm just ranting a little bit here because that is we follow the commandments of Saint George of Carlin, which is called one of them are floating hostility, and so
That should just be the name of
what
the
we
live streams now at this point. With free floating
yeah,
hostilities with
hey,
debate.
not a bad idea. Joy
Uh,
live
I'll just
stream,
add some stuff real
free
quick.
floating hostility. Paste.
I'll just add some.
Whoops.
You throw that on your Facebook, but I'll just add some things real quick.
Yes.
There's some things that have popped up recently that I think are interesting. One of them is that Tom Tiffany is trying to now push for advertisements that basically are attacking Crowley about his data center leadings, which I think is absolutely hilarious, considering that Crowley's data center leanings are realistically not that different than Tiffany's. So don't vote for Crowley because of how he views data centers, but totally vote for Tiffany for the same exact position. The thing is
Yes.
that
They're insulting your intelligence.
Tiffany is the kind of politician that basks in culture war. He doesn't care about being fair or realistic regarding his politic. He is a election denier. He's a guy who has actively voted against the PACT Act, giving veterans benefits in regards to their exposure to toxic fumes. He does not care. He is a delusionally simplistic individual. He will take every opportunity he can to talk about how he was the damn flowage controller for a portion of our waterways in Wisconsin. Like that's something to be proud of. That's like a lighthouse keeper being proud of being a lighthouse keeper, even though in both positions you're extremely lonely. You're just by yourself with your thoughts. And what have I learned? What have I learned in
Is not
multiple years?
lonely enough.
Well, it's like what have we
Oh,
learned
because
multiple
that'll drive you
times
crazy.
in our lives is where all the crazy people came from was they were talking to God on a two-way radio in Montana somewhere in a cabin all by themselves, and we're talking about these guys coming back to society like they're mentally fit. Everyone knows that what is it? Solitary confinement is a war crime. And when you're being forced in that solitary confinement, these guys are bragging about being willfully isolated as though it somehow absolves them of the mental damage they've done to themselves. It's
I don't give a fuck about any of that shit. I don't give a fuck if he's alone, or if he's got 80 kids. If you're a shithead and
80,
an asshole, then
yeah,
that's really what it is.
I didn't know he was married
I
to the
mean, I'd
octo
rather he
mom.
didn't procreate. I would really rather he didn't procreate. But really, I mean, if you are an election denier, that means you are fundamentally dishonest and unfaithful to any oath that you give. He supported the dual slates of electors, and he supported the
Mhm.
campaign or the election denier misinformation perpetrated by people like Sidney Powell, the psychotic, the really, really droopy, wrinkly, leopard print, disgusting ex former lawyer, now disbarred, I believe. Um, and Rudy Giuliani, the late Rudy Giuliani, RIH. And I mean, I'm an atheist, so I believe that he's just becoming usable compost. This is likely the most useful he's been in a long, long time. But I digress. They promoted this election denialism. They put it up to 60 plus court cases, and they all got smacked down. Some got smacked down on standing. Others got smacked down on procedural issues. Many got smacked down on the lack of merits. And they were so egregious that these motherfuckers got disbarred in several states. Rudy Giuliani lost everything he owned to two black women who he defamed, and then he defamed again in the middle of the fucking court case. And these ladies had to move out of their homes. They were getting death threats. They were getting doxxed. And so we're really talking about scum of the earth people. If you the Bible means nothing to me as a former Christian. However, if you put your hand on a Bible and you take an oath and you swear to defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of Wisconsin and the Constitution of the United States, and then you do this, you have proven yourself unfit. I really don't understand how Tom Tiffany can actually run. I don't know why they aren't challenging him in the courts because of his election denialism. I suppose the courts are just too corrupt right now,
Yeah,
under the thumb of the Republicans and Trump, to actually do anything. And the Democrats are so
we are
the
so in
Democrats are
we are stuck in a
yes.
state we are stuck in a state where Wisconsin, right for the state, is, and Evers has shown this time and time again, which is very frustrating about him, that they are so scared of harshing the right side of the state because they're so convinced that there's a 50-50 duopoly and we're in a situation where if we upset the right wing too much, we'll flare them up and they'll respond in an aggressive way that'll tip the scales in their favor if we just go too far. So we pretend like we have to still have this like level of cordialness with the right wing, even though we're, as the left and as the Democrats have been moving within the past like 5 years, more and more the state is realizing the Republicans are just detrimental to our state running effectively. And we still have old guard Democrats who are showing that they're willing to kowtow to this mythical belief because they're so willing to do it. They derailed an entire campaign. Crowley got the most amount of primary votes for a Republican Democratic primary candidate. Hong got the second most. That's how many people came out to vote and how close that vote was. The Republican, and we're a nonpartisan voting block. We don't know how many of those were Republicans voting. We don't know how many of them were Republicans voting to stop Hong. It could have been enough, but we will never know because none of us have to declare a party in our election. And that's what a lot of people were saying. I've seen is that there could have been a bleed in of Republicans voting against Hong because they can say this all day. They can say this all day. Hong was the one that the Republicans wanted the most, but that's also a scare tactic to divert from the fact that you're trying to scare Democrats from being able to embrace something that's better for them because Tiffany's campaign openly said she is the threat. They openly said between the two of them, she's the one that they're worried about the most. And yet we were
and
told
and she didn't get supported.
she didn't
She
get
didn't get
supported.
supported. Now I understand that people in the Senate don't want to support, don't want to put their thumb on governor races, but I'm gonna check it out and see how many governor races Bernie and AOC have supported in the past, because it was a point 1 percentage point, I think, that Crowley won.
No, he won by point
AOC
5 total.
0.5.
Yeah,
So
about
half a percentage point.
3,000, 5,000 votes. That
Do
could
you
easily be
think
swayed.
that Bernie and AOC, with their endorsement, um, couldn't have gotten Fran a 3,000 votes? She couldn't have gotten 3,000 people off their ass? I believe they totally could, and they didn't, because they didn't trust it. They didn't think it would work, and I don't get it. I don't get it even a little bit, but I mean, it is what it is. My
Now I look like I'm
my
on my
big issue here
on the
is this.
camera. I now look like I'm looking at you.
Yeah, my big thing is no, you're looking away. You're
No, no,
looking
I
the
just
wrong
looked
way.
at it. Should be showing up on live soon. Sorry to interrupt. There we go.
Okay. No, you're
There
good.
we go.
Oh, you mirrored yourself. Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Slick. Nice. All right. Well, let's go. So, what I was
Other
saying,
way for
Mike,
you. Other way for you. There you go.
god damn it. Shit. Anyway, um so okay. My message is for Tony Evers and David Crowley, and I made a very strongly worded video that I sent to Mike. I'm not sure if you saw it. But a lot of it was, you won by half a percentage point. You need our votes.
Yeah.
So don't expect us to just get in line, because that's not our way. And if you're just going to run to the right and you're going to disregard the left, you're going to lose votes and hemorrhage them at a much more alarming rate than you expect, and in a surprising way, especially considering the fact that these polling motherfuckers are so off the road that I don't trust them to predict. I don't know. I don't trust them to predict shit at this point in time. So Crowley needs you have work to do to unite the left flank of the Democrat, particularly the socialist wing, which I am proud to call myself one. I am somewhere in the middle between social democrat and democratic socialist,
Yeah.
where I want to use the government to affect change so that people actually get services for their tax dollars. And yeah, sorry, my balls are dropping again, thanks. uh
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Like,
I want
better
people to
late than
get
never.
something for their yeah, right. I want something people to get something for their tax dollars in terms of service, and I don't want people to be worried about where their health care comes from. And I don't think that's unreasonable considering every other fucking country in the developed nation or in the developed world has it.
The big,
So
as far as I'm concerned or aware, right? The big difference in his statement here for like where he would like to see our tax dollars used and utilized is for lefties or people who would consider themselves liberal, they will stand
nope,
by.
nope. We got it. Liberals are one thing. Lefties are different.
Well, there you can have them. I'm saying that these two groups have a similar core thing on what you're talking about, but they perceive the action towards obtaining it differently. So, like for most democratic socialists or most socialist Democrats, the control of the means of production in regards to this, and we're talking about like things like energy production, we're talking about things that are
Farming,
health care. Those things need to
manufacturing in some spots. Yeah,
yeah, those things need to be controlled by a governmental or unified, mostly controlled by the people style of things. So like when a small government would take control of a local power utility or water utility, because most cities would have their water utilities controlled by their city. So why aren't we having our electrical? Why aren't we having our internet? We're allowing these things to be run through a so quote unquote free market. But for liberals, that capital is something that should be maintained. A lot of social democrats don't think that those things should be maintained by the private market. They should be maintained by the governments. So, like universal health care is something that a lot of SOC Dems and Dem SOCs, that's the shorthand for Democratic Socialists, Socialist Democrats, would want those things to be controlled by a governmental body that can be then evenly distributed amongst its populace versus a situation in which we're looking at something more like a Medicare for all slash public option style thing that's still competing with privately owned insurance companies, where a lot of these people are trying to use this as a point of leverage, but it's already been called out. The fallacy in it is mostly that if we have a public option, all of the insurance companies are just going to dump their worst cases and worst patients and most volatile patients on the public option, which is why
it's going to
Cobra,
be like it's going to be like it's going to be like voucher schools.
yeah, and
You
they're going
dump
to,
the expensive people, you dump the people that you don't want, you dump the people
yeah,
that are less desirable and more expensive onto the public option, and then you underfund it and sink it.
yeah, and so that's going to be what they're going to do because the thing is within a free market, within a uh, uh, what they claim as a free market, you have a lot of people who are basically controlling the means of which these things are valued. So when Tom Tiffany, as the point of this, talks about, I'm going to make medical expenses more apparent. I'm going to make them have to expose how much they're making you pay. Anybody who has watched the horror stories of an insured person going to a hospital and then finding out that they're paying 3 to 4 times more for a procedure compared to a non-insured person is just showing the level of capitalistic bureaucracy that's happening on that back end that we never see because it's all based off of what the procedure is, what the cost of it is, how much the hospital is willing to make a insurance company pay for based off of these things. And Luke has worked in the insurance industry. These things are all decided in a back room and they're not being done to benefit the patient. They're done to benefit the shareholders of the hospital or their boards and to benefit the shareholders and benefactors that are part of the insurance companies. These things are the insurance companies provide no value, in my personal opinion, and a lot of people's opinion. Insurance companies for medical insurance provide no value to the United States of America because the prime point of them being able to maintain profits and be profitable is predicated on finding ways of providing no coverage or denying all claims made for anyone who has those insurances. So when it if we are trying to be realistic about that, why are we not making this a governmentally required thing? People want to talk shit about the Canadian system. People want to talk shit about the European systems, but they have longer life expectancies than Americans now, and their coverage, they're treated as a patient. I am a veteran. I go to the VA. I'm treated as a patient. It's the fault of our
Yes, Mike
government.
has socialized medicine.
The fault of
It's
our
not of high
government.
quality because we don't fund it properly,
Yeah,
but Mike has socialized medicine and he deserves it. He
I've
fought for our country. He served.
I've gone through procedures because of the VA that would have cost people like Luke and my wife and other people who are non-veterans thousands of dollars out of pocket to take part in. I've gone to DBT and CPT or CBT trainings for my mental health, and I've gone to neuropsychological evaluations and testings. And that neuropsychological testing would cost out of pocket most people anywhere between $5,000 to $7,000, which they just don't have. And I got it for nothing. And that's the things that were needed so that my therapists could take the steps needed to help get me in the right place where I'm being much better about. I wouldn't even be able to do this podcast realistically or this stream if I didn't go through these trainings, because I would just be filled with so many other thoughts going through my head. And we aren't providing that for other people, even at the level I'm getting it, where a lot of people would say the VA system's garbage, it's shit, it's this, and the other thing, because we have people, mostly Republican, who want the system to fail so they can say government is failing, so they can then use that as leverage to maintain power. But right now, guess what? That isn't working. It's not working because we all know the Republicans are the ones in control. Oh, government sucks. Government, you can't trust the government. Yeah, we know that because you're running it, you idiots, you morons. Numbers are starting to pop up. As soon as the internet became prevalent, that's when the right wing started losing their grip on most things. When people started becoming more and more aligned with our ability to look things up, dig through all these different facts and figures, and understand these things in a broader sense, especially with millennials and Gen Z, it's ridiculous that they want to pretend they can hide this because the only people they can get to believe this shit is X and boomers. You know, they're the only ones who still believe the old system still works. Anyone who's older, who are more aligned to first gen users or not native users of the internet, they're painfully aware of how broken our system is because you can't hide the truth. You can't hide. You can't tell them to not believe their lying eyes. You can't tell them to listen to believe their lying ears because most of these kids don't even know the book 1984 even exists, but they sure as hell know the concept of what it was warning us about because they've watched it happen in front of their faces with their parents who turn the page on being good people and put red hats on to pretend they're better than everybody else. I mean, my mom is not a red hat wearer, but she sure as fuck acts like one, and I've watched her deteriorate. And Luke has personally discussed her deterioration to her face as a human
How is
being.
she? Is she in town?
She will be in town tomorrow, but
I
uh,
want to I want to hang out with her. I want to
uh,
I want to bring over a
he
bottle of
wants
beer
he
and sit
wants to
down and
un
just smile at her.
he wants to
She
un
hates me
she
so
wants
much.
to he wants to necessarily or necessary conversation her, and uh she's I'm the one who has to work her out of it. I got her to acknowledge that some of the shit with CCOT and some of the shit with Alligator Alcatraz is a bridge too far,
uh,
but she is
oh man.
firmly in the mindset that uh you know the old world still exists. The old world's still real.
Oh, she is hilarious, man. That is a very fascinating lady, and she hates the shit out of me. Um, but
He
um,
attacked her.
I, I didn't attack her. I just told her that if she's okay doing it with other people going to Alligator Alcatraz who walked here through the Darien Gap, then I'm fine with her going as well. Simple as that. And then I kind of went in as well. But yeah, she was not persuaded by my charms, and she thought I was a bully.
Yeah,
But
it's but
I was
the
very
thing,
tickled by it because I didn't go hard on her. I was very proud of myself actually. I asked my buddy Ryan. I said, "How did I do? Was I really?" He's just like, "I thought you did very well. I didn't think you said anything." I'm
you
just
know
like,
what?
"Let's fucking go."
Considering
Um,
that considering how many times I've seen you refer to Ryan for like whether or not you did good or bad, I'm gonna take that with a grain of salt because the way you looked at me with that T-shirt idea, and then you contacted Ryan, and you looked absolutely defeated when he took my side. I can't trust his judgment. You can just be
Shut the
saying,
fuck up about the goddamn t-shirt idea. I swear.
"Hey man, the second
I
I get
swear.
this,
We should put a poll in the comments. Let's see here. We've got someone in the comments
yeah,
here. Corpse Oval M. It's absolutely horrible. There needs to be some serious change in the U.S.
yeah,
healthcare system, as well as in many areas, other areas in the U.S. Veterans deserve better care as well.
yeah,
Could not agree more.
yeah,
Quite right.
we agree completely.
Corpsova, uh, Corpsova M.
Appreciate you
Um,
joining us.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
The thing that's even more of a
The
killer, I'll say this too real quick to add on to this. They still treat dental and hearing. They'll treat hearing. They treat dental as a completely different thing that you still need to get your own thing on. Hearing and vision they'll cover, but in the private market, those things are still considered separate entities in regards to insurance, which I don't understand. They're all connected. Anybody who knows anything about like the ability for sinus infections and different things in the head to impair different parts of your head, and yet they're all treated differently. Your dental health directly correlates to most people's likelihood to have heart,
lifespan.
the lifespan and their likeliness to have heart disease. Like
Hmm.
it's just
For the first
ridiculous.
couple of thousand years that that we were alive, or the first that for the vast majority of human existence, people died from their teeth
Yeah,
at the age of 25. And then I think in the 1800s, they got it up to 30 or 35. And now with proper dental training, with proper dental techniques, antibiotics, etc., obviously we're living to close and past 100.
yeah.
Um, it is said, and forgive me for not having the source, but it is said that the person who, what is it? The person who would live forever has already been born. Now, personally, I think that we're going to destroy our resources and kill ourselves as a species, which is too smart and also at the same time too dumb to survive and defend itself. But it is what it is. Now, I'm going to take a hard shift
Thank
on this
thank
conversation.
you for the positivity, by the way, before this hard shift. That's a lot, a lot of positivity. Just
Hey,
we're too dumb. It's
we're too smart and too stupid to survive. Hey, if you think I'm wrong, hop on and in the Discord, and I'm happy to debate it with you. I will be happy to debate people and have discussions, gentle and loving discussions, the likes of which I had with Mike's mom last summer. She was wonderful.
was
Sorry,
that
that
was
didn't
that
sound right.
last summer?
Just kidding.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was a year ago,
Oh man.
maybe longer.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to talk about the military. I want to talk about things that are going on with our military and this incredibly moronic war that is going on with Iran.
How dare you bring up the Navy? Uh-oh.
Yes. So we're talking, of course, about the U.S. Abraham Lincoln. Let's see
You,
here.
you are bringing up stuff without. Let me see.
So,
You
okay.
screwed up the stream there, buddy. Because
Oh,
you're
did
trying
I?
to you're
Okay.
trying to share stuff.
Never mind.
Yeah, you're trying to share stuff with me.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing. So, okay, I'm looking here. The U.S.
There we
Abraham
go.
Lincoln is in the Strait of Hormuz area. It is in the Gulf now.
Uh,
What's up, Mike?
I got it now. After I did that, when we get done with this, I need to work on making a 3 prong screen grab because then I can just switch to it when we
Yeah.
want to show something next time.
Yes. Yeah. You can make another scene for that in
Yeah.
the OBSs.
Yep.
So the U.S. Abraham Lincoln. Everybody is aware if you've been paying attention to the news. It is they are running out of food. Their toilets are not working. Morale is incredibly low. They have been out there for 250 days. They're supposed to go to port and be able to stretch their legs and actually walk on ground and be around people and grocery stores and other stuff. Remember, it's a fucking tin can in there. Like it is close, it is probably as close to a prison as you can imagine. I've been in subs. Um, I went to Pearl Harbor, and they let you on some of these subs. Incredibly cramped and tight quarters. You're supposed to be turned loose every 45 days. The first and last time that they went was last year in Guam when they were on their way to the Gulf, I believe it was. These guys are suffering. These sailors and these Marines are fucking suffering. I've seen photos of the meals that they're getting. Like canned peas and some random white cream cheese or sour cream slop. Let me tell you something. Joe Biden never presided over this type of bullshit. Say what you want about him. I'm reading a book about how his avarice kept him in the race longer than it should have. But motherfuckers were fed and people were properly rotated in and out. So this speaks to the failure of leadership, the failure of vision, the failure of strategy, the failure of logistics for this war that they're not calling a war. This is why it's important who you appoint to the cabinet. It's important who was in charge of the military. It's important who our commander in chief is. Because this shit never happened under Clinton. It never happened under Obama. It never really happened under anybody, but it definitely goddamn happened under Trump. And I could have fucking predicted it. So we have guys who are literally jumping ship, possibly and likely to their death. They're committing self-harm because they're going crazy.
Yeah.
Where is your humanity? Where is the support for the troops? Where is that attitude? Where is that energy? I'm seeing let me bring it down.
So, while he's
Anyway, no, hold on. So I'm good. No, I'm good. I'm good. Let me stay in the booth here. Um, I'm seeing videos of people saying the sailors need to toughen up. They need to man up and they need to, suck it up and hard times and blah 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 blah. Motherfucker, how dare you? You ingrate. You disgusting subhuman who scum. Absolutely horrible. Shame on you. Feed your troops if you care about your troops. Be responsible with their lives. MAGA MAGA is, and I suppose the GOP in and of itself is the party of gaslighting and virtue signaling. Support our troops, support our until they're in the Strait of Hormuz and they're starving. They're dropping 30 pounds, and now they have to pull another carrier out of the Pacific Fleet to relieve them. And I think that carrier has also had issues. There are other ships that are having issues where soldiers, sailors, and Marines have lost 10, 20, 30 pounds. I mean, these people literally signed up to be government equipment. They signed up to put their lives in your hands. And this is what you're doing with it. When I was an interpreter in Milwaukee Public Schools, I told students this who were going ROTC. And fuck what you heard. This is how I feel. I said, don't do it. Please. And they said, what do you mean, Lionheart? Why? I said, because I don't trust the government to be responsible with your life. That's what it is. They have to break you down in basic anyway. To turn you into a warfighter, they have to break you mentally and emotionally in some ways, I believe. I mean, I went to theater school and it broke us down, and so they can kind of remake us. Not that I'm making any comparison, but the idea of stripping away things of parts of your humanity or parts of your personality so that they can reinstall some other firmware and some other software is part of it. Now look at me yammering on and on in front of a service member about what it's like in the military, but I'm just saying, as someone who cares and someone who sees these as people who are going to have to reintegrate once they're done with their commitment, let's try not to break them too badly. Let's try not to destroy their physical well-being as well as their mental and emotional well-being. I mean, these people deserve to see home. Their families are suffering along with them, and their complaints are being met with bullshit. Their complaints are being met with nothing more than platitudes, bullshit, and Secretary Kegsbreath saying fake news. Trump actually said they haven't been deployed nearly long enough. He said he doubled down on it. President Bone Spurs, President Deferment, President Draft Dodger. President couldn't march 10 steps without shitting in his fucking diaper. And he's going to say this sort of shit. Shame on you. On behalf of myself and anybody who really gives a fuck about the military, I'm sorry for what's going on. I am sorry. You deserve better. And if it was within my power to get food and beer to you and get you on some dry land so that you could walk around and you could be around actual people and behave yourself, I would do it. I would do it. There are care packages that are not getting through. I mean, when I was in college, I went to school in Boston, 1,500 miles away. And my freshman year was fucking lonely. But the care packages I got from my family, they sustained me. We did an episode where we talked about Kringle. I got to share the good news of Kringle, the gospel of Wisconsin Kringle, to the ninth floor of Claflin Hall in at BU, and we all felt more at home. And these guys, gals, these sailors and Marines deserve to get the shit that their families are sending them to let them know that they're thinking about them, and to let them know that they're still they're not alone. Don't ever support this president and say that you care about the military. Don't ever do it. Don't. Shame on you. Don't ever say you care about the police when you're going to support the people who beat the living shit out of them, some to death, on January 6th. Don't say it. You don't mean it. All you want is an enforcer class to fuck up the people that you hate. I was watching a video again. There was a woman who said she let the quiet part out loud. I believe there was a flood, there was a disaster, there was something, and they were not getting the help that they needed very fast. And she said, "I don't know what to do. I don't understand. President Trump, he's hurting the wrong people. You're hurting the wrong people. You're hurting the wrong people. You if if the cornerstone of your party is hurting one set of people rather than helping all, you might have a fucked up political philosophy. I'll just put it like that. I can't say I agree. I can't say I respect any of that sort of shit, but your racism is getting in the way of your capitalism in a lot of these cases. So there is definitely that. But I wanted to make sure that we talked about the Abraham Lincoln. I believe the H.W. Bush is on its way to assist, or is it a different carrier, a different ship is going to relieve him, and that ship is coming out of the Pacific Theater, which means it's going to take weeks to get there. It's going to take 2, maybe 3 weeks to get to the Lincoln. It'll probably be another week or so for them to coordinate and hand over the baton, so to speak. Hang tight, hold fast. I don't know if y'all seen Master and Commander, but hold fast. There's a dude who had knuckles and or tattoos on his knuckles that hold fast. We're thinking about you, and if this bitching that I'm doing right now is doing anything, then I'm glad, because y'all don't deserve this bullshit even a little bit. Mike said that they should have beer on board, and if y'all are subsisting off of peas and like toilet taters or whatever. Like I doubt y'all have the proper beer ration, but I hope you get to port soon. I hope you stay safe, and we're thinking about you.
Well, as a person who was deployed in the Navy to the Persian Gulf, what I can add is
Milwaukee's
effectively
favorite seaman.
there is uh, effectively they're out for at this point 260 plus days. They're it's a record for the aircraft carriers. Generally, I think like the record before that was like 173, 175. But the general gist of it is that they're not just sitting in the Gulf. They are constantly doing operations. This means that these people are working nonstop while they're there. The idea that they're not getting replenished with what they need is the bigger problem. I know that some people don't know this, but a while ago, the lead logistics operation head for the Navy was actually fired not that long ago. So that means that they're being able to still supply them with munitions, but they're not fully supplying them with replenishments of food. They normally should be given a port visit, but their port visit in that area would be to their Fifth Fleet location. The Fifth Fleet location was in Bahrain. Now, to remind people,
Which is under
Bahrain
attack.
was bombed by the Iranians, meaning that it's not a safe location to go. A lot of the other areas that they're putting these people in, especially the ground support teams, those guys are being sent to hotels that are being unmarked so they don't become new targets for the Iranian bombing. But Bahrain, the Fifth Fleet headquarters, is basically gone. So they're a leadership and a fleet without a headquarters. So they have no place to go. Anything that tries to go through the strait is immediately going to be targeted by Iran, where they're going to not have very much access to a lot of these different, uh, uh, you know, logistics ports, logistics lines, and but they're still getting weapons, which is crazy to me. You're seeing a lot of people diverting things. I know that there's some of the things they're going to probably get are going to be from Iraq, from the Iraqi ports, but they're effectively stuck in the middle of constant operation, 24/7, maintaining the aerial front and aerial supremacy they claim to have within the Persian Gulf against Iran, and conduct these bombings. The USS Boxer is also out there, which is a smaller vessel, and their crew is being met with just the same level of issues that the USS Abraham Lincoln is meeting, but they're doing it while constantly firing missiles into Iran. Oh, there goes my chair. As I fall and bust my shit.
Quick gravity check.
That was Iran, secretly attacking my
Iran
chair
bombed your chair.
and
Yeah.
bombed my chair. But no, that's the thing too is that there's there are women on board the Boxer. There are women on board the USS Abraham Lincoln, and one of the things that they're also being met with is a lack of feminine hygiene products. Most women who go on deployment are known to make stops at different ports to be able to bulk up and buy extra feminine hygiene products. So there's people who are getting messages from the ships saying that they need care packages with more feminine hygiene products because the ship is not providing that within their replenishments, which it can be a devastating problem for a lot of people when it comes to being able to maintain proper care for their bodies. And I know this because feminine hygiene has to be treated separately within the plumbing and care for these berthings. Naval berthings for female sailors was very well known for very long deployments to reek because of the inability for them to effectively maintain and dispose of their feminine care products when needed to be used. They're asking for extra pads in these care products. They're asking for tampons, anything they can get. Even some people are even talking about like reusable pads, which for them is pretty rough. I know that a lot of parents who have dealt with reusable diapers without a proper ability to clean, wash, and maintain those products, they can be pretty rough to maintain. So just imagine that, but on a feminine hygiene perspective. And when it comes to the food, they're already being given the worst food. Aircraft carriers are unique in a sense, though, depending on the ship and depending on the availability. Some of them have, and what people don't know this, some of them have McDonald's on them. They have McDonald's restaurants on the carriers. And if you're looking at a situation where ships, especially the smaller vessels like the USS Boxer, they're being given smaller rations. They have a single galley. Aircraft carriers could have a multi-tiered galley. There's also the chief's mess and the officer's mess. those are two separate entities that, depending on the size of your ship, depending on the size of the officers' corps or the chief's corps, could have their own galley all by themselves to provide them food. But all these groups, depending on what's happening in these scenarios, would have limited ability to provide food. And some of the food, I remember this very vividly, and this may have changed, but a lot of the food that we would get in these boxes would be marked with what they were expected to be used for. And a lot of the food that we would get in the Navy would say not suitable for prisoners. Why would you then give that food to us? But it's what we had to work with. I know that for some of them, like I know that pictures being sent off the USS Abraham Lincoln are showing that they have suffered through fires in different parts of their engine compartments and power. I believe one of their cruisers, or either a destroyer or a cruiser, had lost power recently. So we're talking about across the fleets, multiple instances of poor care and maintenance for these vessels, and we're talking about situations where the ability for the Navy to respond to these things has been diminished and depressed. There's some people even saying that the USS Abraham Lincoln has been confiscating people's phones. There's images that have shown up on CNN of graffiti from the sailors. Some of them are calling what's going on
on the wing.
Operation Epstein's Fury. That's one of the ones that stood out to me in regards to how the
Hmm.
sailors feel about this. And they didn't, if they
Yeah,
weren't feeling a certain
there's a
way,
photo of some writing on the wing of an aircraft,
yeah.
and y'all can check it out for itself. It's rough, man. It is a stark barometer of and a window into the emotional and morale state on that ship. Um, Additionally, I've heard that people are being, when they get home or when they're being let off, they're being forced to sign NDAs. Otherwise, they can't get off the ship, so that they can't talk about their experiences. And
Also,
I
sailors
hope
and
that that's not true.
all military members, when you sign up for the military, you're not allowed to sue the government. So anything that they contractually hold you to is, no matter how ridiculous it is, no matter how against our Constitution it is, the military maintains that it can break those constitutional laws because you sign away your rights when you become a member of the military. You're now in a position where you don't have the same thing as a citizen in regards to those things because you're now considered a part of the system that is the DoD. Now, I want to preface something that you were mentioning earlier really quickly before we move on, because I think it's really important to add on to what you were already talking about in regards to Trump and the treatment of these people. Something that I've always told uh, Trump supporters, especially people who are military Trump supporters, is I want to emphasize to them that Trump has had a very long history of being very negative towards people that are both military members or people who are willing to sacrifice for other individuals. If you're willing to sacrifice for another person, Trump's viewpoints have been demonstrated to mostly be that of a person that thinks that they're losers and idiots for being willing to sacrifice a part of themselves. When Trump was questioned about his support for the military, and what during his first term, when he was talking about a Muslim ban on people being able to come in and out of the United States, during the DNC, there was a family whose son, they're a Gold Star family. For most people who don't understand, a Blue Star family is a family that has a service member on active duty who's more likely deployed or in a theater of war, and they'll display a star, an indication of the amount of children they have that are in active service. A Blue Star family, their children are still alive, and I've seen up to 5 stars in regards to the amount of people in this family that are serving our country. I'm when my mom was I was serving, she would display a single blue star. A gold star family is a family whose family member died while serving our country, and they will have a display of a single flag that is red framed, single center, white center with a gold flag or blue flag. This is a gold star family. They have a gold star to indicate that they've lost a family member who served. So this family who was talking at the DNC
The
was told
Khans,
the cons.
Khizir and Ghazala
Yeah,
Khan.
they talked about the sacrifices of their son, who was a a translator for the army in Afghanistan, I believe. And they talked about how they were a Muslim family whose son, who was Muslim, went to serve in the United States military as an interpreter, died during his service. And Trump attacking Muslims as a group and enforcing a ban on their movement within the United to and from the United States was, from their perspective, a attack on the legacy of their son's service to the nation, and that they implored the president to not enact this Muslim ban because it was wrong for in their eyes and against their son's legacy. Trump responded by attacking the cons on Twitter and accusing them of not being American. And that was the first major sign that I saw of his viewpoint towards people's willingness to sacrifice for our nation. Then we go to people claiming that he made comments about how people who were prisoners or people who were captured were losers. And that was followed up by his direct comments about Senator McCain when he said that he viewed Senator McCain as a loser because he was captured during Vietnam. This behavior continues on to this day, where Trump views the military as pawns and not as people. If he's saying that a carrier group with a deployment of over 250 days at the time of his statement, the deployment hasn't gone on long enough, tells me that his belief is that these people aren't people. They're tools. They're utilizations of things to push his agenda. And as a owner, they're just part of the cost, and that cost is being paid by us. So he's getting away with acting this way scot free, and his behavioral pattern means that we mean nothing to him. You and I mean nothing to him. He does not. He is so narcissistically broken that we hold no value. His children hold no value. No one holds value unless they directly benefit him as an individual. So military people, veterans, active duty, you only care about him if he gives you a financial benefit. Once he attacks you, once he goes against you, I'm going to watch so many of you burn those red hats because it's happening in real time. Pete Kegsbreath,
in
Pete,
2 or 3 years, you're not gonna be able to find a fucking maggot.
no, but
They're gonna
Pete,
they're gonna scatter like cockroaches.
the admiral of the Fifth Fleet, put out a statement regarding the situation with the U.S. Abraham Lincoln. That statement directly talks about the mental health of the crew members aboard that vessel, stating that they have the least amount of mental health problems in the fleet. Why the hell is the Fifth Fleet Admiral commenting on the mental health of his crew during a time in which they're being expected to go above and beyond, even wartime during both Operation Desert Storm and Operation Iraqi Freedom? And we're supposed to believe him when this statement is clearly something that was pushed in support of Pete Kegsbreath to maintain an idea that he's a good head of the Department of War. It's bullshit. It's all theatrical bullshit meant to drive home this idea that everything's hunky dory while the people that we're supposed to care about suffer and they're under complete control. We talked about earlier when we talk about the willingness to throw people in isolation, you're throwing an entire population of people into forced isolation while also maintaining that they do so under an extreme. This is going to be, I mean, I'm just saying this now. This is going to be a situation that's going to be studied by psychologists for years. Because once this crew is allowed to
By
leave,
the military,
but
hopefully as well.
no, they will not. They'll refuse because right now the Department of War, all these different
I mean, in a
agencies.
decade,
I've, here's what I'm going to specify:
hopefully.
the the government has been taking actions systematically to destroy records of things that are happening under the Trump administration's control. There are federal records that are being destroyed in regards to our ability to track corruption within government or like different I should say corporations. There's things happening right now where
Oh, contractors?
there's contractors, there's records that are being done by the through our IRS, through the bureaus that control different avenues of our government interactions with corporations, whether it be agricultural, whether it be business. Like, they're destroying records that would be the key marks towards being able to undercover and go after corruption. They're destroying those things. The Department of War is going to do the same thing. They're going to minimize and deflect and cause us to not be able to realistically and deep dive into the levels of corruption and abuse that are happening. And it's going to happen. I'm predicting this like a mother effer if we're talking about how the Trump administration has behaved across all other aspects. I mean, Trump literally tried to give him and his kids the ability to never be bothered by the IRS ever again. I remember talking on one of our episodes predicting that Trump was going to be able to get money out of the IRS, suing the IRS deal, which is him as the executive suing a branch that he's in charge of while owning the other branch that is supposed to be bipartisan, but it's 100% under his purview to go after the IRS, the DOJ attacking the IRS while he controls both entities. And what did he get? He originally got a $1.8 billion slush fund, which is constantly being attacked by smaller sections of the judicial to stop it from happening. But the second that it gets sent to the Supreme Court and they're able to put it in the same purview as they did when they said that the executive is allowed to get away with basically anything they want to do, the executive privilege, as long as it was done for the auspices of the country. Well, that's a very vague statement. How much of what he's done
Mm-hmm.
has done under the auspices of
Official capacity or
official
whatever. Yeah.
capacity? Well, so how much of that is under that official capacity? No, I mean, that whatever vagueness the Supreme Court
Yeah.
can
The
give him
lawyer
cover for.
who argued the bullshit for his executive authority said that he could, if he thought that it was in the best interest of the country, he could assassinate a political opponent.
Yeah,
The lawyer said that. Like this is psychotic, and if you're not paying attention, you really, really gotta. Um, and I mean, if and when Democrats finally get into power, they better go after these motherfuckers because if they don't, it's just going to keep happening again.
they
We
cannot
we
they
allowed
cannot
a
go with
lot of
half
people to get
measures.
out of World War II. Hmm?
They can't go at it with half measures. They can't go at it.
Yes,
They can't go into it
yes,
with this bullshit idea of maintaining political decorum, because they're going to go in and be like, well, what if these weapons were used against us? Well, guess what? They were. If Biden sadly did not do a universal pardon for the people in his administration and his son, Trump would have strung these people up. Let's just be 100% honest about
yes. Yep. Pam Bondi would have. Would Pam Bondi tried to go after Hunter Biden anyway?
it. Yeah.
And I mean, she did, and was relatively successful. But I mean, she was a token, and tokens get spent. So she got slung out. Tulsi got slung out, the psychotic Christian cultist. And who else got slung out? Caroline Levitt left because apparently she didn't appreciate the fact that she was sent on the decoy bait
Uh,
plane.
Actually, I'm going to correct you on that real quick because I saw a report on it. The New York Times columnist who was writing about that situation made it very clear that she actually wasn't even on the plane. She's actually in the middle of maternity leave. So the story that was
Gotcha.
pushed that she
So
was
she
quitting.
wasn't on the decoy plane.
No, she's leaving
Gotcha.
because she's still on maternity leave and her priorities changed because she now wants to spend time with her family. So that story actually got nipped in
Yes,
the bud really quickly.
with her 60-plus-year-old
Yeah,
husband, um, which means she's taking a step back to sanitize herself so that she can try and run for something later on.
or just
Um,
raise her kid. Let's just be because she's saying it's because she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, and a lot of these conservative women that's kind of like we've talked about it before. That's kind of their jam is just I rather let my big strong man run things for me so I can just be a mom at home. And she's the same lady who isn't she's the same one who was like back from initial maternity leave to like breastfeed her kid while she was like writing reports. So I don't see her not just hiding for a while before she has to get pulled in to try to
Hmm.
step up for Trump. But
I think she's so addicted to the limelight that if people don't talk enough shit about her, at least if it doesn't get to her, she won't be chagrined enough to not run for something or not stick her nose back in. And I mean,
which could be fair.
the women in the GOP that the has-beens don't tend to stick around or have a lot of staying power. Michelle Bachmann, Sarah Palin, who else? That crazy bitch from Arizona. Um,
Something Lake, right?
yeah, Carrie Lake or
Carrie
whatever.
Lake. Yeah.
Um, who was the most unshamefaced liar I've ever seen. She is smooth. No wonder she was an anchor for a while, or she was a one of the far right propaganda machines. Pretty faces. I use
The
that term very, very
If I
loosely.
remember correctly, I think the lady who's running for the governorship in Minnesota, who's on the Republican ticket, I think is actually a former radio host. So they're not above pulling the lever on getting their media savvy people into political positions to run for office.
They're not above anything.
No.
Nothing, and nothing is too low for them. There is no rule that they will not break. There is no lie they will not tell. There is no bribe they will not provide.
There's no
And
food.
I believe there's no poop, there's no diaper they will not change and wash to sanitize to get themselves an extra inch worth of power.
There's no catering truck they won't crawl out of to avoid being assassinated.
Yes, what a fucking coward. Are you kidding me? Yes.
uh,
So if there are any Republicans, any GOP, any MAGA, any Trump supporters who can explain to me, um, this is your daddy, huh?
I'm a
Daddy's home?
big strong man. Big man, strong man.
And he
Tears
and
in
he
his eyes.
snuck out of and he snuck out of a plane on a fucking catering truck because he was
Yeah,
too scared. And then he let those other fucking people go on the flight when he thought that when there was a concern that it could have been attacked. Additionally, wasn't there an issue where he had to deplane off of his Qatari plane that he was given
yeah,
onto another one because it didn't have the proper infrastructure didn't have like the anti-missile shit or
yeah.
whatever. Again, and remember, this gift cost us a shitload of money. This entire plane had to be disassembled, completely swept for bugs, and retrofitted, which it wasn't properly, apparently.
Yeah.
So, and the jets at rest cost money. The Qataris didn't want this jet, if my memory serves correctly. This was an old piece of shit that they weren't dealing with, and it was just sort of like an old couch that was sitting somewhere, and they were able to offload it to us.
Fun fact:
Just
this isn't the first time this situation has happened globally. For people who are in the know, they actually decommissioned this, but the French government for many years had an aircraft carrier that they just had sitting that really wasn't doing a lot because they kind of overextended their fleet's ability to maintain aircraft carriers. So they sold it to Brazil. And the United States, the French, and then for a period of time, the Brazil navies were the only navies that utilized what's called the catapult launch system. That aircraft carrier was so expensive to operate that Brazil had to split the cost of running it with Argentina. And so these two navies, or no, it might have been Venezuela, that they had to split use of this aircraft carrier that they got from the French. So for a brief period of time, the only three nations that had this catapult system to utilize it was Brazil and Argentina, and Venezuela, um, France, and America. But so this isn't the first time that something that has been the upkeep cost of maintaining it is too much for the home nation. They offset or offload it. Just in this situation, Trump it already designated it was going to go to his museum or his whatever the Trump National Library that isn't built yet. But it's basically it was a bribe. Let's just be 100% honest. Bribe by the Qataris. to try to get favor because his
Of
sons
course.
and his son-in-law are all heavily invested within the Middle East. They all a lot of the money they're getting for their crypto scams and their real estate scams are coming from Qatari and Saudi Arabian backers, and we're just pretending like this isn't another case of like blatant corruption.
But what about Pelosi? But what about Pelosi? But what about her emails?
Well, I'm going to recommend everybody here who's watching, and maybe later when they're on their, we turn this into reels. Go to, I believe it's called Sully. He's a gentleman who does these short form videos where he uses cups to uh, demonstrate the value or numerical value of things. And he does one, a Sully dog, I think is his thing. But he does these videos where he takes cups, puts them in stacks, and then shows you the bullshit comparisons that different people are making between different groups. And he does
Helps to
one for,
contextualize, yeah.
yeah, he contextualizes it and he shows the amount of corruption and the amount of money that's been made by Democrats versus Trump, and the amount is pennies compared to hundreds of dollars. Like it's like a single line of like small blue cups and then a giant pyramid of red cups to demonstrate the amount of
And no one
corruption.
gives a fuck enough to stop them.
Oh no, they
The
care.
corruption
People
is
people give a
ridiculous.
fuck. People give a fuck, and they're trying to stop it. That's why like the Democrats keep trying to push for limitations of stock trading, but the Republicans always vote against it. All the things
I'll bet
all
you
the
there are
things,
Democrats that vote against it too,
yeah,
because the Democrats are also heavily
all
invested in the stock market. They're all pigs at the teat.
yeah.
It's just that Donald Trump is the period, most period, corrupt period president period we've ever fucking seen, period.
His
That's
corruption
one long word there.
his corruption dwarfs every other level of corruption we've ever seen, and
Yes.
we are lesser for it as a nation.
Yes, because when the founders created the Constitution and set up the idea of the president, first of all, the first presidential administration, I think there was somebody who already resigned because it was so fucking corrupt to begin with. These are wealthy landlords. These are slave owners. These are plantation owners. These are inventors and philanthropists and philanderers like Dr. Franklin. Um, so of course they were going to bilk the system. However, it required someone who had a basic foundation of some kind of decency to be in the president's role,
Oh no, I
and
think the
it never
concept
it
is,
never prepared anything for like it never spoke about these are the things that you cannot do if you are a motherfucking psychopath.
well, I think what it originally was that the Congress was supposed to be the overarching realistic controller, because a lot of the executive's power is placed in how far the Congress is willing to let them go. So the executive could make the changes on the direct power levers, but Congress controlled how far he was allowed to go because it was supposed to be a concept of the owners were still going to have the power to limit the president, but the president was the guy who was basically like the manager of the military, manager of the branches of government that physically did the work. And so that's what the initial sense of it is, because right now the crisis we're in right now is that Congress refuses to put limits on the executive because they're just willing to let him do whatever he wants. If we wanted to stop a lot of this, which is why that's why what the Republicans have been pushing so hard to limit the ability for us to gain control of the House and the Senate, because the Senate is kind of useless. That's why a lot of people are saying that the Senate just needs to go, because it's just another way of like limiting control of the executive while Congress is really the one that does it. The only thing that's actually been limiting the control of the executive is the judicial, which is not how we should be doing these things at all. Supreme Court should
Yes, the
not be.
judicial is not. Yeah, there's too much shit being put before the Supreme Court, and
Yeah.
there's too much coziness between the Supreme Court and outside lobbyists. Looking
Mm-hmm.
at you, Uncle Tom. I mean, Uncle Claire. I mean, Clarence
Harlan
Thomas.
Crow,
Um,
but
yes.
but
Don't say his
it's
name 3 times; he'll appear.
that I already
Uh,
did to earlier, and it was bad because I was hoping for Jose Cuervo, but I got Harlan Cuervo, so that's what I ran into.
uh
Uh,
damn
but
it.
the thing that I'm trying to get at is just that the Congress was the owners, still having control as a group,
Yes.
and the executive was the top
Yes.
owner.
And they've ceded that power to the executive because they want, because
Unitarial,
every vote you take, every action you make as a legislator, you're going to piss people off, and that's going to fuck up your
yeah,
votes. Additionally, in the Senate especially, you have to spend a lot of senators, I'm assuming it's probably still true. There is a building across the street, I think, or down the street from the Senate building, and it's a call center, fluorescent light in cubicles, and senators sit there and they dial for dollars.
yeah,
They need to generate $10,000 to $20,000 a week just to run for reelection. Otherwise, they get gobbled the fuck up.
yeah,
These people don't have time to actually govern. They're too busy trying to run for reelection and generate money. So if you were able to somehow get some of the money out of politics, some of the money out of these senatorial races, then maybe these people would be a little bit more reliant on the people who actually vote for them rather
yeah,
than their donor class. That also is incumbent upon us as a populace to be intelligent enough and well informed enough by a good quality news media diet to the extent that you can find it, to the extent that it exists, so that when these people spend $1 billion on ad buys and try to pepper you
oh
and
shit,
paper the airwaves and the internet media
uh-oh,
landscape with propaganda and bullshit.
I just had a problem with our thing pop up. I gotta
Which
change.
pop up?
The screen for both of us changed dramatically. Share
No.
your screen real
Oh
quick.
yeah.
Share your screen.
Oh, I see it. I see it. I see it. I
Yeah,
see it.
let me
Um,
let me adjust this really quickly. I can shift
yeah,
it.
holy balls. That was real bad.
Yeah, it's my fault. I might have hit a button on accident. Let's see.
No worries.
Let's see.
While we adjust, my point is just that
They can still hear us. I'm just gonna
yeah, no.
try to fix
Um
this the best I can.
Congress has ceded a lot of its power. There are no Congress people in this current Congress that actually are strong enough to oppose Trump in any real way. And it's sad. It's sad that who was it? It was Lisa Murkowski of Alaska was scared of the Trump supporters, and she said, "I don't want to do this, but I'm scared." Turn your pen in and leave. If
Yeah.
if you if you supported a person and got a person into power who was too savage and evil and stupid to be trusted with that power, and you are too craven to wrestle that power back, you're worse than useless. Shame on you. I also want to mention, while we're shitting on Congress people, there was somebody who did,
There we go.
it was probably Bill Maher, or maybe it was John Stewart or somebody who was talking with Fetterman, and um and Fetterman talked about, if you're going to be a Democrat, then if you're going to run as a Democrat, be a Democrat. If you're going to run as a socialist, run your own party. You are not a Democrat anyway. You ran as a Democrat, and I'm glad that you got in rather than Dr. Mehmet fucking Oz. However, you have been anything but a proper Democrat, anything other than a proper leftist or liberal or progressive or anything. You have betrayed your voting bloc and your electorate, and I'm sure they cannot wait to vote out your stinky hoodie, stroke ass, cargo shorts, flip flop wearing bullshit ass. They can't wait to get your lumbering BFG ass out of there.
Yeah.
Also, you talk about you wear the hoodies and stuff. Isn't he rich?
When he
Aren't you? Don't you come? Doesn't he come from a fucking moneyed family? Stop acting and walking around like you're a college assistant football coach
it was part
or a
of
high
his
school assistant
aesthetic.
football
It was
coach.
part of his initial aesthetic as the everyman because he was trying to
Mm-hmm.
appeal. He was trying to appeal to other Pennsylvanian people because he wanted to be the guy who was speaking for the iron or steel workers, the guy speaking for
Yep, the
the
Pittsburgh.
everyday and
Yeah.
the so.
Mm-hmm. Y'all got hosed, and if it were me, I would be calling this guy's phone daily, saying, "You need to get your head right. Maybe you need to change your stroke medication or whatever, because it has changed you into a complete shithead." And so, yeah, there's definitely that. So, Fetterman, you're a walking sack of garbage,
Yeah.
and you look like you smell terrible, absolutely
Hey,
terrible, and
hey,
that's the worst I could say for you
it's
right now.
it's not the we're
Just
not
step on
Israel, brother.
Legos.
Brother, we're not Israel, brother. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
we're not.
gross. All that. Yep. Sending our money abroad to fund, and just talking about Israel again, dude.
Well, I mean,
I mean, really?
remember the old
Ugh.
adage, right? Remember the old adage that a lot of people have said in the past when it came to like the Nazis, it came to a lot of like governmental control. Understand who rules over you when you are shown who you're not allowed to make fun of or not allowed to talk
Yes.
about. And in this
Yep. Who are
case,
you not allowed to commute? Yeah. Show me
yeah,
who you're not allowed to criticize, and I'll show you who your ruler is.
yeah, and in this case for
Absolutely.
us,
Um,
it's Israel for a lot of
and
us.
again, and we're seeing video because there's a shit ton of uh, what do you call it? Citizen journalism, content creation, whatever. But
Hmm.
you're seeing people who are rolling up on corrugated metal shacks and saying, you're gonna this is going to be ours now, and they
Yeah.
just loiter and hang out, and they intimidate. And there's somebody from the Israeli army standing way off in the distance in case it gets physical. They can protect the Israeli settler or the person who's harassing them. And in my head, as an American, all I can think is fucking kill them. I don't advocate for violence, but
If
if
somebody showed
someone
up at
tried to
Luke's
roll
house,
into my house,
yeah,
and I typed a comment and I said, send that motherfucker to the United States and let him try and do that. They're
yeah.
trying to do it in the Philippines. They're trying to do it in some other spots. Rabbi Shmuley is doing a lot of ridiculous bullshit here, there, and everywhere, and playing the victim. It's it, just remember, let's just try and contextualize this a little bit. Let's roll it back to Germany in 42 and 43. They wanted to put all of the Jewish folks from Europe in Haiti, and they were thinking about putting them in Africa. They're putting them in South America someplace. Palestinians said, "We'll take them. This is how many you've got. We're not going to have a ton more. We'll take them. Open arms, no problem." And then they expanded, and now they own 56% of the land
Let's
and
Can I
the
clarify
water
something
and
really
the
quickly?
resources.
Just clarify something really
Please.
quickly. They didn't just bring them with open arms. They provided them shelter in their homes for the
Yes,
Palestinians
they
to
put
then
them into
leave,
their homes. They
to
welcomed them
then
into their homes, literally.
come back and find that they had been locked out of their own houses. This is
Yes.
basically what ended up happening to a large number of Palestinians, and some of the families to this day still hold on to the key of the house that they were removed from because they view it as a beacon towards being able to go back to this place, even if realistically they may never be able to get there. That's
It's
the
the
world,
last piece of their home that they
yeah,
still have.
and it's the only we
Um,
have. It's the proof
and
they
then
have.
over the next, and then over the subsequent years, Israeli militias, you would call them terrorists if they weren't Israeli, began a cleansing process, I suppose you could say. They began to attack Palestinian villages. They displaced the Palestinians living there. If they didn't leave, they were killed. The water was they fucked up access to the water. I
Mhm.
think some of the wells might have been poisoned. I'm not going to say that. I don't know 100% about that. I do know that they were met with brutality and violence, and that's the reason why these people are in permanent refugee status and in permanent, basically open air concentration camps. Um, if you really adhere to the definition. And I believe that the corner has been turned, and enough people are seeing the Israeli army's savagery, the Israeli army's bald face lying, and they're also getting the numbers of how much money we're sending and why we're in this Iran war in the first place. Again, Netanyahu, as soon as there is no more war for him to prosecute, he is going to be prosecuted for corruption. So he has an active motivation to continue this war. And also, I believe the Likud party was, well, I won't, I never corroborated that source, but the Likud party, I believe retrospectively, you can find it, came out of one of the incredibly violent militias um, that were killing Palestinians and booting them out of their homes. And remember,
Ben
there
Gavir,
is a thing called, yes, Ben Gavir,
his
Mr.
entire
Newspin.
if it wasn't for Ben Gavir and that right wing section of the Israeli government, Benjamin Netanyahu would have no power within Israel. The thing that I feel like is lost for a lot of people, and Luke was hitting on this a little bit, is that there's when we're witnessing not just the money that's being sent, we're being overwhelmed by a lot of these other different things that are happening when it comes to information coming out of the West Bank and out of Gaza. The thing that I feel like is the further you dig into this, the more you realize how systemic this indoctrination of the people are right now. I showed Luke many clips of a Palestinian streamer who purposely tries to get in conversations with Israelis during live streams and has people, even children, as soon as he identifies himself as Palestinian, cussing at him and telling him he should die. These mindsets are because the extremist side of the Israeli government is pushing a portion of the beliefs in Judaism, that precipice that people that are non-Jewish are considered less than human, that they are by their own
Or
broken
less than
broken
them.
broken way of thinking in regards to the relation to their religion, less than human, and can be considered the same as cattle and livestock. This is not this is not the
To a degree. I'm going to add as many qualifiers in here as I can.
well,
Remember,
this is
we
not what
support
a lot
Judaism,
of
we support
this
Jews,
is not
we
what
support.
I'm gonna all right, to
Mhm.
clarify, I'm not saying this is bulk of Judaism, which is why I'm trying to get to this clarification. I'm specifying that the way that these people are twisting the concept of this verbiage within the Old Testament, the verbiage within their way of viewing it, is that Christians and non Jewish people are considered to them as less than Jews and are not the people of God. So you can be treated like cattle from this broken, busted ass perspective. Other Jewish denominations, other Jewish believers do not stand by this because they understand that it is not a reasonable way of viewing other people. That is why you look at the way they treat Palestinians. IDF is taught this. Children are taught this. The way they treat Arabs, the way they treat Christians, they treat them as people who could be pushed over and shoved and treated like garbage because they're subhuman to their opinion. They're being
Yes. They
trained to do
believe that
something.
there's.
It's the same way that us as Americans have a problem with extremist Muslims and extremist Christians because they are pushing an idea of their religion that is causing them to be able to justify in their small section of reality that it's okay to be violent towards other groups. That is what's being pushed upon. And that's why when I talk about the Israelis, this population of people are a victim of a high level of propaganda that is causing them to be extremist and violent. And when they're being exposed to the truth, the gentleman I mentioned earlier, who's the streamer who's Palestinian, he comes out and has talked to some Israelis who are willing to look at the truth. But then when you talk about
Mhm.
these people who are propagandized that are within our own country, that are dual citizens, that are in positions that are either broadcasters or politicians, the verbiage they use is very interesting and has to be paid attention to. The money we send to Israel to support them in regards to their defense, that's another way of saying that it's money that they're owed and deserve. When we have people who are politicians talking about not sending this money to Israel, some people will say, well, it's their money. How is our tax dollars their money? It's the verbiage that's being used to describe how this situation in their minds is being played out. We are effectively funneling money to Israel. Luke talked about it in previous conversations where a Florida city was trying to redo their books about how they're trying to figure out where their funding was going because they had potholes, just to find out that the money they should have had for potholes was being funneled to Israel. And when they tried to fix that, the state government re-amended that and told them that they shouldn't be able to do that because if they did it, they're not going to get any more state funding. That's the level of corruption we're seeing on our side. And because we're becoming more educated to this, the further you go down this pipeline, the further you pay attention to the reality of it, the further you realize that this is something that has been extremely rottenly applied to our nation. And we, as a group of individuals, need to be willing to defend the Jews as a people from the anti Semitic people who want to attack this in a way that justifies their anti Semitism, because they will, and they have. And the amount of conspiracy theories that are popping around this is unacceptable because
Yes, the
it's
pushback from this is worsening the anti-Semitism going around and making Jews less safe.
which is stupid too
And
because
that's
anti-Semitism applies to the Palestinians as well. Don't
yes. So Jews are less safe. Jewish people are less safe
yeah,
because of the actions of Netanyahu, his government, and the IDF, and the Mossad, who are a lot of people are becoming aware of a lot of this. I hate to say the word psyops, but a lot of the spying, a lot of the bribery, a lot of the money that is being handed under the table to politicians and other people, and how things have been, how the Israel has been baked into the laws of our country these days
our foreign
in
policy in
such a way
general.
that yes, and some of our domestic policy that we have become an unknowing vassal state to Israel, you could say. Um, and I don't think that that's going to happen very much longer because Israel is over because Netanyahu is overplaying his hand. He found somebody dumb enough to actually catch the car. He found a dog in Trump dumb enough to catch the car that they were always chasing. And now that they caught it, it's fucking up their teeth. The Greater Israel Project has now come to light. Things like the Samson option, which
Yeah,
was in 1977, the Israeli government threatened to nuke most of Europe, the United States, and some other countries if we all turned our back on Israel and left them to fend for themselves.
the true. There's
I'm not
also
saying
the
that they want to do it now. I'm saying they threatened to do it then, and there are motherfuckers running for the Knesset who were in support of it. A former spy who was imprisoned in the United States for espionage was released. Is running for Knesset. Still believes in that right wing bullshit, and it is absolutely insane. And I believe it's scary.
The other
and
thing too is that we still have like the USS Liberty incident, which Senator Thomas Massey brought to light on the floor to
yes,
talk
they
about the death
destroyed
of
our ship.
they destroyed one of our ships. The other thing too is that people are starting to realize why the Abraham Accords is actually secretly like a really deceptive way of getting other Arab nations to just accept Israel's violence against Palestinians, and it's one of the key points of leverage that the Saudi Arabians have been able to use because Qatar has already signed on to the Abrahamic Accords, as far as I'm aware, which fits right in part and parcel with how much they've been trying to get into the pocket of the Trump administration. But Saudi Arabia has refused. And because they're still trying to maintain that they're there to try to protect the Palestinians, even if they don't have the military means to do so, because they're in a disadvantaged position.
Yes. I want to talk really quickly about, well, we've talked about Shireen Abu Akleh in other conversations. She was a, Abu Shireen, she was a journalist. She was an Al Jazeera journalist, and she was shot in the face in the West Bank,
Yeah.
and she was wearing press attire, press helmet, press
Real quick,
vest.
Luke, I do apologize. I got to grab something really quickly. I'll be right back. I do apologize.
Go for it. Press vest, and they shot her in the face. And then they attacked the hospital where they were going to be bringing her for her funeral, and they smoke bombed her funeral. The amount of savagery that is being done by the IDF and by Zionists cannot be overstated. And I maybe we're just going round and round with this, but it's coming to light, and it is no longer being accepted, not even a little bit. So, um, I don't want to harp on it too much. I don't want to. I want to make sure that we talk about other things as well. However, one of the big things about Fetterman is he is a staunch Zionist. There are other members of Congress on the Democrat side who are not, who are loath to criticize Israel, and that's at this point in time that's really not acceptable. So another thing that we were talking about in let's see here, earlier we were talking about the Abraham Lincoln, the USS Abraham Lincoln. Then we started talking about the ways that the Israeli army is committing atrocities, genocides, etc. One other thing that I wanted to talk about is another heavy, hard-hitting topic, but it has to do with lynchings.
Yeah.
Lynchings. Let me preface this by saying this. Black people do not hang themselves from trees in public. I'll say it again. Black people do not hang themselves from trees in public. 7 days ago, there was a woman. Well, there was a CNN article about a woman was hanging from found hanging from a tree. Tasia Fortune, or
Mm-hmm.
Tasia Fortune, um, found in an abandoned house, and it was in Mississippi, which is not even a little bit surprising. Trump's racism has emboldened white Christian nationalists and white supremacists to carry out these lynchings. And the reason that we're talking about it now is that lynchings are up. There, in the last year, the last 12 months, there have been close to a dozen, probably 8, in different states, including one of my own, Wisconsin. And there seems to be some issues where the coroner's office is ruling some of these things suicides before the bodies come out of whatever they're hanging from. There was one person, I think they were hanging from a light pole, and the coroner, according to, I believe I saw this on one of Monty Mater's videos. Big ups to Monty. We love you, Monty. That's a bad lady. That's a bad lady, man. I respect the shit out of her. Anyway, I digress. Um, they had to get like a cherry picker. They had to get equipment to get the body down. But before the body was actually taken down, it was already ruled a suicide. There should be a full investigation anytime a black person's found hanging in public, because this is what's going on. There is, yeah, Mike has got, it looks like we're putting up some of the
This is
lynching shit that's going on here.
this
This
is
happened
from
in
last
Brookfield.
year.
This is, yeah, this was last year. This is a black person who's found hanging. First of all, how many black folks in Brookfield on a golf course?
Yeah. For people who don't know,
That's immediately suspicious
yeah.
enough. Brookfield, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
For people who don't know, Brookfield is a subdivision outside of Milwaukee. It's technically also part of the Waukesha County area, which is a more well-to-do, wealthier area. It's a different county, but it's still considered part of the Milwaukee metropolitan. And it's also an area
Picture
where
white flights, and you will have pictured Brookfield, Wisconsin.
the only reason you'll see a person of color in Brookfield is if they're working at a fast food joint or at a restaurant, because I've known too many black people who have told me that the only reason any black people go there is basically to work for people in Brookfield. It's the basically the same as uh, giving them the idea that they still have basic. I don't want to go back to saying like slave ownership. The black people are the ones who serve us. We're the wealthy, off-to-do, affluent white people. All these people of color are here just to serve us. So it's very odd that a black,
Unless they're fearless in shopping.
yeah,
I
there's a,
mean, don't get me wrong. Brookfield has a lot of shopping. There are a
mhm.
lot of businesses. Blue Mound Road, where I live off of, is a tremendous, busy area. But I don't know. Black
Well, it's
folks
just,
will go to they'll go to Brookfield Square,
the
I guess, but
idea
they'll probably go to Mayfair more often. Hey,
the
that's probably
idea
closer.
the idea that a black man would show up to a golf course, a country club in Brookfield, and then just randomly end up killing himself in a tree there in a predominantly white neighborhood is
Right.
hyper suspicious. So
Yes.
the
It stinks tremendously. And remember, Milwaukee has been called the Selma of the North. Milwaukee is one of the more segregated cities in the country. We've talked about it again and again and again. I don't want to belabor the points. However, black people are being murdered. And again, we're being gaslit to our faces. For fuck's sake, you guys. That medical examiner in the God damn it, what's his name? Um the Mississippi boy who likely got killed by his white friends
uh,
on an island off of
the
Mississippi.
one who was the swimmer, the
Yeah. Anyway, um, it's that sort of thing all over again. You're playing in our face, and also that particular medical examiner was responsible for some
Nolan
other
Wells.
incredibly shitty calls. Nolan Wells, forgive me, I'm sorry.
You're good, good.
Um, I'm I smoke. Let me just put it that way. My memory ain't what it used to be. Um, yeah. Why did the medical examiner keep Nolan Wells' stomach and throat? Why are people not able to access the other parts for the autopsy so that they can find out what's really going on? And why? And again, this is an issue again where white people need to march in our name. Black folks can be upset all they want, and until they think that we are going to be an imminent threat of danger, they won't give a fuck about us. And then when they think we're an imminent threat of danger, then the whole conversation turns into black savagery and how these people can't go through the proper channels. You can only kill people enough and gaslight their families, their mothers, their parents so much before shit's gonna pop off. So people like Monty Mater, and you can find her on wherever you get your stuff from. She's got bangs and she's got a septum piercing and she's got a rock and roll personality, and she's a deconstructed Christian and anti-apologist, I suppose we could call her now. That's a I like watching her shit a lot. That's a bad lady, and she calls on her fellow Karens, her fellow white women, to be the people who call those Congress people, to call those sheriff's office, to call the coroner's offices and demand justice. Because again, imagine it was your kid, and imagine nobody who didn't look like you gave a single solitary fuck.
There's also the case of the gentleman in looks like Raleigh, North Carolina, back in August 17th. A 32-year-old black man's
Yes.
death was ruled a suicide after he was found hanging from a tree. And the police are saying that they have surveillance of him by himself before he was found dead. You want to talk about how baked in this culture is, the amount of times that police have covered for these, deaths so that they could save the
Did he
people that
have a
are.
rope with him while he was walking by himself on the surveillance camera? Explain to me the mechanics of something. What he was so depressed that he climbed a tree with a rope, tied himself to it, and like jumped off the tree or something. You must be outside your goddamn minds. Outside your goddamn minds.
And
And
the thing,
anybody who really believes this is not being an honest interlocutor.
I can also say with full confidence that any kind of in-depth, any form of in-depth analysis that's trying to be done to try to actually talk about this incident. If you talk to anybody on the right wing, you talk to anybody who's not willing to be an actual, good faith actor, they'll pull some bullshit. I know exactly. Like the first thing that popped into my mind about this kind of like trust in this situation, I can tell you right now that some crazy psychopath will be like, "Well, you can't trust everything they say because what about that whole Jussie Smollett thing? He didn't really get beat in the street, so how can you trust what they're going to say about this guy who
Exception that
clearly
proves the rule.
see exactly?" And I'm just trying to give an example because I
Mm-hmm.
think right away off the top of my head, the first exception that they'll try to give to try to justify why what we're seeing isn't real. What we're seeing is a lie, fabricated because
Well, yeah, but notice how that kind of defense, which it really isn't, notice how it changes the subject.
you
They're not engaging on the point. They'll talk about, well, what about all the black on black crime? What about
it's
all
all
of this
the
and what about all the
whataboutisms
whatever?
will be habit ad nauseum.
Exactly. It's
But the
nothing
problem
but whataboutisms and bad logic.
the problem is, and this is just where this is going to go down because we've watched it happen in real time. The person that they're doing this for isn't you or me. It's for the low educated idiot that thinks that it's a team sport because it's like, well, our guy got some good shots in. Yeah, because, what about this part? That makes sense. What about that part? But then when you sit them down and you actually try to get them to answer for what they're talking about, the biggest problem we suffer from is a lot of people need to be put on trial. Basically, they need to be everything under oath, everything said, because the second they're under oath, all this shit falls apart. Uh, to add to like the racism and bullshit, there's that gentleman running for office in, I believe, Arizona, or no, Colorado, where a journalist asked him directly. No, no, yeah, it was Colorado, where he was asking him about the 45,000 Venezuelans who are Tren de Agua taking over portions of Colorado, and
And
he
he
was asked.
backed the fuck
He
up.
Well, he didn't. He just backed the fuck up. He tried to like claim that the journalist was lying while then trying to claim that there were sheriffs that agreed with him live on stage while his opponent just sat there and stroked his beard watching this man dismantle all of his political chances because it's all deflection. It's all
Yes,
whataboutisms. It's
that
yeah,
Colorado journalist is a bad some bitch. He's super clear cut and he doesn't mind punching really really hard. He's just like yeah, I believe that that lying asshole said that Colorado had like 4500 or 45,000 Trenderagua
mhm.
members in that particular city block or whatever in that complex. Turns out that there were fewer immigrants from he was quoting how many Venezuelan immigrants there were in the entire state or something
the,
like that,
the the
and
thing
it was
is
still more. There was still less. He still embellished it. So I mean, these
there were
people
more
are lying to you
there's less Trende Aragua members according to the Department of Justice and the DoD and our own
in the
federal government
states.
than was being quoted in the state of Colorado. There is less of
Yes.
them by the federal government's measure.
Again, fascism is cured by reading and racism by traveling. You need to start cracking open some books. You need to watch some videos about what do you call it, media literacy and critical thinking, so that you can debunk when someone is coming at you with subjective data, with biased information, misinformation, outright lies,
Ad
and how to
hominems.
critically analyze this stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, you. It also helps to learn the logical fallacies, which I'm very very fond of. Ad hominem, logical fallacy where you attack the person instead of the argument. So, like if Mike were to say, um, these people aren't Trenderagua members, these are Venezuelan immigrants, I would say, Mike, why do you hate, Mike hates America and wants to bring in gang members into our country. That is, or Mike is too stupid to understand this sort of thing, or Mike is a communist and so he would whatever. I'm attacking Mike instead of the arguments. Another one, just for free, I'll give you is called well, sure.
Straw
Uh,
man fallacy is the
Post
biggest one.
strawman fallacy is perverting someone's argument to make it easier to destroy. It's the opposite of the steel man.
Mm-hmm.
So if Mike says these people aren't all Trenderagua members, I'd say, Mike, why are you in favor of gangsters and drug dealers in our country? That's half ad hominem, half straw man. Where they reduce where if you have to say that's not what I'm saying, that's not what I'm saying, that's likely a straw man. My personal favorite is the no true Scotsman fallacy because I like saying no true Scotsman. It is based on this. One person was condemning a Scotsman for something, and another Scotsman said, that guy isn't a true Scotsman because he took sugar in his tea. No true Scotsman takes sugar in their tea, which means this. You're condemning a maggot for something, and they say, not all maggots do that. We don't all do that. That's that guy. That guy's not a real MAGA. This guy isn't a real MAGA. I am. So it's a way of wiping away and disregarding somebody's point or disregarding an example of someone doing something that helps prove your point because they're not a true Christian, they're not a true American, they're not a true Iraqi, they're not a true Trek fan, they're not a true whatever. People really love to exclude others so that they can potentially elevate themselves. It's part of the individualistic nature of our country, and it might be part of the human animal anyway, because hierarchies are unfortunately something that tend to emerge when large groups of people or even small groups of people congregate together. Let's do one more. Argumentum ad populum. A lot of people believe something, therefore it's true. That is a logical fallacy. A lot of people believe that slavery was good and correct. Doesn't make him right. A lot of people, if 99.99999% of the people believe the Earth is flat, which people did back in the day, don't make it fucking flat. What else? Argumentum. Oh, slippery slope fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
If we let trans people, if we let gay people marry and do whatever, pretty soon, will I be able to marry a chair?
Or a
There
dog.
was a disgusting woman from Wisconsin who was running to be the lieutenant governor under Scott Walker, I think, and she was talking about that exact same thing. She had a gay uncle who came on TV and called her out on it because of her disgusting slippery slope fallacy. Where you exaggerate the claim. Slippery slope is kind of like a straw man in the future. If you put the pedal down, or if you hit fast forward on this is what's going to happen, and then they pervert it and they blow it up. My personal favorite again is also post hoc ergo propter hoc. This is the educational portion of the show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Luke. Tip your teachers. Post hoc ergo propter hoc, also known as correlation versus causation. Post hoc ergo propter hoc means after it, therefore because of it. Let's see here. It's a good example. I stubbed my toe yesterday, and today it's raining. Therefore, every time I stub my toe, it's going to rain because one thing happened and then another thing happened. You have to show the causation, not just the correlation. And sometimes some things can be correlated, but it doesn't mean that one thing happened as a direct result of the other thing, right? People say butterfly flaps its wings in California and you get a tornado or a hurricane in New York. You would have to draw a substantial link in order to show the causation there. So when you are having conversations with people, employ these logical fallacy tests so you can see if people are bullshitting you. It also is extremist, radical, patriot. These are all emotionally charged words. And if you get to the point where you become an identity maggot or an identity leftist, when you are going on when you are going through these arguments, the the logical analytical portion of your brain will not turn on, and it will be all emotion. Also, um, I would call another debate tactic. I would call is the hurry up. Andrew Wilson, I think that's what his name is. He is a cigarette smoking degenerate content creator for TPUSA, and
Hold up a second, real
the
quick.
what? Yeah,
Trying to make sure.
nope, that's not Andrew Wilson.
There we go. Our live stream was hitting a little bit of a hiccup there for a second.
Gotcha. Are we still on?
Yeah, we're still good.
Awesome. It is Andrew Wilson.
Andrew Wilson.
Andrew, hmm?
You're right.
Yeah, Andrew Wilson. Yep. So this guy uses the hurry up debate strategy a lot. Ben Shapiro talks really fast. A lot of these people have Destiny could probably,
Qualify for
if
fast
you
talking.
speak very quickly, he's a fast talker. I don't know if he uses the hurry up, but he hits people. He's engaging with people who are incredibly um hostile and shitty. And so the hurry up can definitely help that way. But the idea is you put something on somebody and then you just interrupt them. You put the pressure on them to answer in a timely manner. If you slip up, if you trip up, they'll call that out as well, so that they can discredit you through that. This dumb fuck paid Candace Owens 300 grand apparently to do a debate with her, who was moderated by uh, some other conservative dipshit capitalist. Um, and he tried to use the hurry up on her. She was talking about the charges against, was it in the Charlie Kirk shooting?
Yeah, I believe so.
Or yeah. He was trying to grill her. She said, "So you don't know any of these things," because he was stating that he was acting like he really gave a fuck about it. And she's like, "Do you know any of the charges? You seem like you're saying that you have such strong feelings about all this stuff, but you don't. Can you name anything?" And he couldn't name any, and so he shifted the burden of proof on her, which is also another debate tactic. Shifting the burden of proof, forcing somebody to prove a negative rather than you proving you're positive. So he shifted the burden of proof to her and said, "Well, can you name them?" And she said, "Sure, I will." And she was about to give a preamble, and he's like, "No, I just want to hear the seven." And he kept interrupting her, and he kept putting pressure on her, like, "Hurry up! How many times? That's one. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
what's the next one? What's the next one?" And she calmly said, "I'm under no time constraints with you.
Okay.
There's no time constraints in this debate, and the more you try and hurry me up to rush me and try and get me flustered, the longer I'm going to take." So I actually really I respect and appreciate the strong debaters who are willing to be slower and
My
more deliberate with their words.
my favorite line from that debate was when he tried pushing her on clarifying how she thinks about a problem. And she goes, "I am under no obligation to tell you how I think about anything." That might have
Yes.
that might as
Yes, he
well have
tried to
been the
get into
moment
a
he
thought.
realized it
Yeah.
was over.
Yes. And he's a shithead, and he tries to boil everything down to, is there any absolute morality, absolute right or wrong? No, then everything is just preference. So why can't my preference be that women be in the. So it's like my shitty, disgusting, chauvinistic, anti woman, misogynistic, racist, anti sex worker, right wing psychopathy is just as equal to your more potentially pluralistic, populist, um, perhaps socialist, or better, more virtuous response. And
Well,
so
the other thing
he's a
too,
dishonest interlocutor and an
yeah.
absolute shatheed.
The other thing too, just for people back at home, Andrew Wilson is very famous for a couple of things during one of his debates against the people that were trying to talk about feminism. He failed to open a jar
Oh
when he
yeah,
tried
pickle jar.
pickle jar when he tried he failed to open a pickle jar when he tried to claim male dominance. And then when a woman questioned him about his I want to say hypocrisy
Wife.
hypocrisy about like a woman's stance in a relationship and a man's position in a relationship. And she questioned him about this and brought up his hypocrisy. He then just started calling her a person who licks sniz because he went
Yes.
right to the ad hominems. He had no response to the
Yes.
fact that, or wanted to interject with anything of
Yes.
substance towards his
That
hypocrisy.
was yes. That was it's not inarticulate, not so erudite is her handle. Um, Wilson said, "I don't think I'll be able to sell you on my worldview because you're too fucking stupid."
Yeah.
That is an ad hominem attack, and she responded in kind. She said, "Can I try and sell you my worldview? My worldview is that you're a hypocrite. You're not smoking what you're selling because your wife has two baby daddies and multiple children's by each, etc., etc." And then he said he started calling her a bitch and saying you look sniz as a lesbian or
That
whatever.
that
And
was
it's
a
and
different woman, but and also Erudite is one of the people that he does go after quite a bit. But that was a different woman.
no, the lick sniz, yeah.
That was
I thought that was her.
no, that was a different woman. It was a woman who
Okay.
was I think it was I'm trying to find her, but I think she might have been a interracial woman that was questioning him about it. But not so
Oh,
Erudite.
okay.
Not so Erudite is somebody that does go pretty in the paint with him. And here's a picture just for the viewers at home of Candace and Andrew Wilson, just to give you an idea of the people that we're dealing with.
Hmm.
So
So yeah, Andrew Wilson is the shithead on the right, and Candace Owens is the shithead on the left. She was very, very close to Charlie Kirk,
hmm
incredibly close, you might say, and was appeared more upset when he was lost to us, to
then
whatever degree it was,
yeah,
than his own wife. Um, she also went to Russia and slobbed on some Putin over there in a way, and the big thing for me is the disgusting way she talked about Emmanuel Macron's wife. Emmanuel Macron is the president or
yeah,
the prime minister of France. He married his English teacher. He married his high school, or not English teacher, his high school, one of his high school teachers, which would have been a big, big scandal, but hey, it's France. They do their thing over there. And so she kept promoting the lie that Madame Macron was trans. And that is a disgusting thing to say. It was a thing that she pursued doggedly for a long time and was just disgusting. I think she was also tight with Ben Shapiro until they had some sort of falling out. Maybe
yeah.
I
She
don't
she
really
used
know.
she used to work
She's
for him, and then when Candace Owens is known for being very anti-Semitic. She's anti-Jewish people generally. She's married to a white man, and she is very anti-Jew and very anti-Israel and has said very disparaging things about the state of Israel. And Ben Shapiro is a Zionist. He is a card-carrying, hardcore Zionist, and he believes that Israel should be given all the wealth of America. And they just when she finally decided to leave his employ, it became very apparent that she took a very large portion of his audience with her. And then
yeah, his shit is down like 90% or
yeah,
something, right?
on the screen
He is
now is the lady that Andrew Wilson had called. Who said that she licks his.
looks sniz. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not so erudite,
yeah,
but
but
first of all, I really respect the collared shirt there.
yeah,
Those are some good stripes she's got going on. Second of all, she sat there and just get like deadpan, just you do this and you do that and you do this and your Willa has multiple baby daddies and he just went what?
yeah,
And the other punchable thing that this motherfucker does, Andrew Wilson, is that as an actor, I can tell when people are doing performance tricks. He'll do this thing and he'll make a stupid point or he'll try and get somebody on he'll yield the floor or whatever, and then he'll start up a fucking cigarette and he'll try and do this ridiculous Quentin Tarantino I'm cool because I'm smoking a cigarette acting. It's like, first of all, that shit hasn't been cool in 20 years, you dumb fucker. Two, there's not a prop on the planet that could make you look cool,
no,
and it just makes him look all the more punchable. And that yes, I want to talk about Punch and Nazi now.
You're all over the
So
place.
yeah, debaters. Well, hey, we're going on almost 3 hours here, so I don't mind jumping around. We spent a lot of time on Israel. Spent a lot of time on some good time, some necessary time on the Abraham Lincoln, and we talked about these lynchings that have been going on, and how there really is no other way but for white people to get as pissed off about it as black people. Until then, I don't think anything's really going to happen.
On screen
But
now, real quick, is the image of Andrew struggling to open a pickle jar with the
the pickle
lady.
jar.
Is she? He claimed that she had greased the jar because he asked her to open it originally. Gave it to her, and then she failed to open it. She gave it back to him. He tried claiming that her hands greased up the top of the container, and then another gentleman from off screen came in and then opened the container very easily. And then she goes, "Does that mean he's more masculine to you? Is the alpha now? Is he the manlier man now that he opened the jar?"
Yes.
That's how
Also,
how
since we're
weak these
talking about
people are.
alphas, look up the alpha study and how it was flawed from the beginning, and how it was amended by the guy who did it.
Yeah,
I was talking to Mike a while ago. Badu badu boo.
he was.
I love a guy named Godfrey who
Mhm.
has a show, Leave Black People Alone. It makes me think, if somebody called me the N word or was super racist or did some Nazi shit to me, is it a duty to punch that motherfucker in the face?
You said dirty.
I did. I don't, here's my problem.
Mhm.
Couple things. First, I've never won a fight in my life. I've only had a couple. I was not an adult when it happened because fighting is largely for children. However, there is a line that you don't cross, and I think it should be at Nazi shit or using the N word. But I really, really, really don't want to go to jail. I'm gonna keep it real. I've got I've got a lot of health issues, and I don't think I'd make it very long in jail. But I don't know. I was talking to Mike, and I think he boiled it down to survive the encounter, which is correct. It just sucks. Um, and I mean, when you are looking for a problem, you're gonna find one. If you're gonna find if everybody's an asshole in an hour, then the asshole is really you. So I can definitely understand the idea of not trying to find confrontation.
Can I add an extra piece to this really quickly about my thought process?
Please do.
I'm gonna say that we understand. We literally just went down a whole thing about lynchings and conversations about the fragility of our social contract to protect black people in white dominated spaces. And I emphasize to you that I feel like the ability for you to fight can be predicated more on your environment because
Yes.
how how thin a line for that survival you need to draw before you become an Emmett Till, before you become a victim of the breaking of our social economic contract and some white person decides to try because like all right, if the riverboat fight happened with only one black person there, then the white people would have felt justified in beating the shit out of that dock worker. But then all the other black people showed up, and now it's borderline a non-traditional holiday for black people right now of the ferry dock fight. But that's
Yes.
because they had both cameras on and numbers. So the
I
ability
saw
for
that
you,
motherfucker swimming his ass to the
yeah,
fight.
swam across the bay, across the
Ah,
to get to the other side just to whoop some fun motherfuckers' asses.
man.
But
Gosh.
that's what I'm
Now
saying.
I know black folks don't want to get in the water with their clothes on, but that
Uh,
motherfucker did not give a fuck.
he went right in. He's like, I'm gonna throw hands. This is throw hand time. But that's what I'm saying is that the desire and ability. If I'm in a bar in the middle of Idaho, surrounded by bikers that are all wearing the Iron Cross and people that are open with skinheads and Nazi tattoos, and I say something against them, you're never seeing me again. Let's just be honest. And that's just
Yes.
me saying these things. So it becomes a point of contention of when you get there, it's a scale, in my opinion. How far do you go before you drop off onto the now you're in shit creek and you just gotta expect that you're gonna probably get dragged behind a fucking car.
Yeah,
We're talking
it's
about
true.
lynchings. We're talking about like how many of these people do you think? Because that black woman that got hung, there's people saying that she would have been a fiery person. She would have felt the need to speak up when somebody was being disrespectful to her. And how do we know that that didn't lead to her?
Wasn't what did it, what happened. Yep.
Yeah, that black man in a golf course in Brookfield. Somebody talked reckless. I mean, even in the black
Hmm.
guy. I mean, let's just be honest. The black kid in Mississippi, Wells, who's to say he didn't just make eyes at the wrong white woman? These people were in a situation where they were outnumbered, isolated, and picked off, and we don't know why, but we know the behavior that could have led to them being taken out. So I stand by black people, people of color in the United States, in a lot of different situations. Please, please, please survive the encounter. Like Killer Mike said, your job is to survive the encounter, whether it be with the enforcement class of the police or a random ass white person surrounded by other random ass white people, because you may not know if you're in a safe place or not.
That's right. You're right. And I mean, you can't be honorable in a city like Milwaukee either.
You can't be
You
honorable.
cannot, you cannot, you can't be honorable in a city with this many guns, in a country with this many guns. You may be able to get into a fight like that in Europe or someplace else, but yeah, we've just got too many crazy ass people with guns, too many people who really, really want to get into it. So yeah, I think you're right. And I mean, I was never raised as a fighty person. I mean, but my parents are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. They are liberal, nonviolent Catholics. My dad was a something of a conscientious objector um, during some military endeavors, and that was the Catholicism in him. So I wasn't allowed to watch violent TV shows. Anything they said, quote unquote, glorified violence. I was never allowed in Taekwondo, anything like that. And I understand why. So fighting is not something that comes natural to me. I was never encouraged to do it. I was never supported in it, and so it's probably a good idea, especially in this time and place and these tensions, to survive the encounter. Let your discretion be the better part of your valor. Record yourself. Make sure that you keep yourself safe. We're in a position now where I feel uncomfortable for any black person who is in the company of all white people. If they're outnumbered big time, I feel real. And I've seen a video. I saw a video where like there was a person who's black guy who's just like, "Hey, you all right? Just want to make sure that you're okay with these white folks." And I mean, didn't make anybody feel good, but you can get turned on. And I was scared because that's me. I hang with mostly white folks. That's who I was raised by. That was my A culture. And in Milwaukee, it's a very segregated city, and so that kind of internetworking is difficult.
I was the
But
opposite. I was raised predominantly around black people,
exactly,
and
yeah,
I'm a
yep.
person.
And in Indiana,
I'm in Indiana, and I'm a person who posted a photo to this gentleman on Juneteenth saying, "Where the fuck you at, bro?" And I'm in the middle of a Juneteenth celebration in the darkest neighborhood in Milwaukee.
uh huh. And I was just like outside bad, inside good.
Yeah, I was I,
Backwoods and YouTube inside.
I was chilling, talking to black people, talking to Hispanic people,
He was
talking to
he
them about.
said he was walking around looking at some. Hey, no, I'm just kidding.
I'm trying to, yeah. I mean, I was trying to help them out. I was trying to get
Yeah,
them
man.
educated on some things, but it's
Register for
just,
Hong.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, that this one was for Power of the People, which is trying to work towards getting our electrical utilities under the control of the county or the city government instead of under we
Instead of
energies.
we energies.
Yeah,
Yeah. Those
and
motherfuckers are jacking up my prices, you pricks.
here's the thing that's crazy.
Ugh.
I've been around enough people within the culture that I know that most black people, most black men, I should say, are very, they're very no nonsense. So if you don't talk to them directly about the problem, they're not going to care. So every time I got to a black guy to sign a petition, I literally went to him and said, "Hey, how bad have your electric bills been lately? Like how bad has this been hurting you guys, regardless to how much you're paying?" And they go, "Oh man, it's been
Man.
shit, brother. It's been garbage. It's been crap." I'm like, "All right, well, here's the thing. We're working on this thing. This is what we're doing. This is what we have going on." And all these guys signed. I mean, I'm looking at guys who look like Danny Trejo, who are Hispanic, and guys who are walking like look like Terry Crews, like or Debo from Friday.
Muscles,
Yeah, just
muscles, muscle.
these guys walking by. I'm just talking to them, "Hey, this is what's going on," and they would stop and look me up and down real quick, and realize I'm just and like DeAndre has told me, real recognizes real, and I try to present myself as real as I can to people, despite how I may look. I just look like another good old white boy. But like, hey,
Hmm.
here's the deal. Here's what's going on.
Yes. You look like you would be a real good double agent for the left. Because like with that goatee and with that hat, I'll, I'll bet you racists would be very, very comfortable. You look very comfortable
What
to be racist
what the
around.
hell did you say about that boy the other day? You said some things that I just can't believe I heard you say. You know, what was that again? Can you give me a time and date so I can incriminate
I'm a
you
whoop
later?
you. I'm a
We're
whip
gonna
your
whoop
ass.
you up good. Tell you that right now. Mm-hmm. They're all right, all right, all right. No, I know that. That's why I told Luke one of the things that I've been doing my whole life is paying attention to the people that I know are willing to break that decorum, but I'm keeping eyes on them. I got people that I know have been bad people, still keep ties, minimal ties, just so I can keep an eye on them. Because the second something starts popping off, I'm immediately going, right there, officer, that motherfucker right there. You should have seen what he had on his Facebook. I got a cousin, just to like people at home. I got a cousin who ran as a libertarian candidate for Congress in Michigan. And my mom used to tell me all the time, he's an Army vet. You tell me all the time, "Oh, you and your cousin will get along great, I think. You should connect with him more. You guys are around the same age. You got a lot of the same, you got around the same family." And I told her, I can't be around this mother effer at all. If I have to spend more than 5 minutes with this dude, I'm probably gonna start cussing him out. Because what she doesn't know, and what I know, because I pay too much attention to internet culture, especially when it comes to hate, he's a boogaloo boy. He's a white supremacist who hides under a friendly veneer of being a
Oh yeah, this is the
uh,
Hawaiian shirt
Hawaiian
motherfucker, no?
shirt. Yeah, Hawaii. He wears bright, colorful, button-up Hawaiian shirts, and he just acts like a good old boy at parties. But he's secretly a white supremacist, and she doesn't know that. She would never know that. And I've watched him post the dog whistle images of a Boogaloo boy on his Facebook posts. And he has been kicked off of Facebook numerous times because of his postings. But this is a person who I went not that long ago to a memorial for one of my cousins who passed away, and he showed up, and my brother was with me, and I had to tell him straight up, hey, which led to a great conversation with my brother, by the way, where I was able to like
Yeah, you
outline
mentioned
on.
this.
But I told my brother
Uh-huh.
straight up, like, hey, I'm happy you were there because I had to hold my tongue around my cousin. Well, why? Because he's a boogaloo boy. I know he is, but he doesn't know that I know he's a boogaloo boy. So I'm gonna let him be a piece of shit. And when the opportunity arises, I'm gonna be able to be in a position where I was with my
Yes.
mother, where I told her,
Mike is going to be the biggest snitch, dude. He
Captain,
is ready. He's got a
I'm
list.
ready. I'm ready
Checking
to
it twice.
weaponize. I'm ready to weaponize my snitchness against all these wigger ass mother. Like, they're all
The
going down. They're all going down.
the
These
the
trailer park
freaking
ass motherfuckers. Oh,
yes, and then they're still yes, and they're still using black music and stuff too. But you're gonna be like you got the list, so you're gonna be like the opposite of Pedro Negro in Christmas culture.
yeah.
Father Christmas or Santa Claus in I think it's Mexican culture comes with Pedro Negro, who is the person who comes with the bad children and takes you away.
Like
or gives you coal. He's going to be Miguel Blanco,
the
which
amount of
means he's got a list and he's going to show up for your ass. And if you are a boogaloo boy, if you're a proud boy, if you're one of these
he
motherfuckers, Patriot Front, any of these tiki torch pussies, um, Mike's gonna have your name, motherfucker.
we had a whole
And
episode
and
about
and I'm not saying bad things will happen to you physically. I'm just saying that karma's a bitch and that we should completely ostracize you from society until you learn your lesson that you ain't better than not nobody. Well, isn't
the
there some sort of quote there before the grace of God go I?
yeah the thing I want to add too is and I've talked to Luke a little bit about this, the amount of people because we talked about it during our white supremacy episode. For people who want to go to our YouTube and check out our white supremacy episode for our videos, the amount of people that I served with who served in multicultural divisions and units who went back home. And a lot of these guys are out in Idaho and Eastern Washington and Eastern Oregon who were guys who literally were very pro black, Hispanic, sailors and Marines. They got along with people with different backgrounds. Shit, they even had sexual relationships with Asian women and different like groups of women across most of Asia. But I had to stop conversing with them because they did nothing but propagate hardcore, extreme, racist, and segregated. I'm slumming my words.
Segregationist.
Segregationist words and verbiages amongst people that were not prepared to talk with or deal with it. And I had to step in when this little kid, I believe his name was Colt. This is during the beginning of George Floyd. A black man came out of his house, put a gun to a small white child's head, and pulled the trigger. The little boy's name was Colt. And that black man was immediately arrested and was immediately arraigned for the murder of this child. And this guy that I was serving with posted justice for Colt. And I asked him, what justice are you asking for? The man's already
What
been
justice is he
arraigned.
being denied?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's already been arranged. And we already know how the prison system works. The second this man walks in there, he's gonna be killed. He will be killed by one of the other inmates because he murdered a child. That's what happens to child killers. What justice are you asking for? And he immediately went into this conversation about how I was talking about how there should be no justice for Colt, and I'm protecting black people. I said over and over and over again, I am asking you, what justice for Colt are you talking about? What do you want to have happen? Because this sounds like you want extra judicial justice to happen. You want this man strung up in a public forum for the death of this white person, but you're conflating it against what happened to George Floyd.
What
And
did he say?
he just continued that line. Tried telling people in our mutual friend groups, posting openly that I was pro the killing of a small white child and anti the killing of a black man, and telling people, basically strawmanning my argument to other people I served with and our mutuals to say that I was a white hating person and that I was claiming that a criminal had more rights than a child. And I tried to, as best I could, to explain to these people what he was saying. And all he did had to do was block me to be able to maintain his position and still disseminate this information to people that I was still friendly with. And let me tell you, the amount of people that did reach out to me asking me if what I was saying was true, and I had to explain to them in private details, and for them to realize that this man had, from their perspective as well, gone down a very hardcore racist line in his life, even though he was at one point engaged to and had a child with a Hispanic woman. He was very anti black, very anti people of color. I had another friend who he got injured and had to spend time in a hospital. The hospital he spent time in post the military was a very religious hospital. He came out of that hospital visit as a born again Christian and was
Oof.
so wrapped up in the mindset of conservative America that he posted a sentence after they were doing a bill where he said, give me an example in human history where a person makes money by going into debt. And I said, I'm trying my best to not be rude to you or any of the other people in your comment section for this post, but have any of you taken part in a basic economics class or a collegiate economics course or budgeting course? And he goes,
Yeah, what
yes,
do you think a business loan is?
well, no, no, that's exactly what I went to. I said, he goes, yeah, I have. I went to a college course on economics. What's your point? And I said, then what do you call a loan for a business? What do you call getting a loan to buy an asset for a company to then utilize that asset to generate profit? What do you call that? Well, you're just a communist. What do you mean I'm a communist? And
You
then
can't get a loan if you're a communist.
I said to him, please explain to me how I'm a communist by explaining to you basic economics in regards to money lending. And he
already,
just get
already too far. You
I'm
should
already
have
he
spell communist. You should
he
start there.
Well, and then so what he ended up doing was privately messaging me about how I'm a communist and I'm against America and I'm not and he can't do anything with me anymore because of some incident that happened when we were both drunk in Japan while we served is all the evidence he needed of how terrible of a person I am. And then so basically ad hominems because he couldn't actually engage with what I was saying. And so he blocked me on there as well.
What'd you do in Japan to try and give
Uh,
him a little pickle pickle?
No, no, we got really drunk and I passed out on a train station and he had to pick me up and put me into a train on a platform to be able to get us back to base. That's what he references. You're such a piece of shit that you got drunk on a platform in Japan. And all I wanted to say was, if I was doing this publicly and airing his laundry, he has a tattoo on his ass of a Budweiser or born by date that are on Budweiser cans that he had on his ass and he showed people in Japan. And he's talking about me getting blackout drunk and passing out at a train station and him having to put me on the train as me being a bad person. When I'm like, you are just as much of a degenerate, but it's not equal time for equal crime.
Worse.
It's
Should have gotten the frog tattoos. Really,
well, it's just
that would have been good.
the kicker is that these people are just individuals who don't understand that they're being propagandized by the local environment because trust me when I say this, most of the radio, most of the television stations, most of the online economy in that area is going to be giving them what they're already accustomed to. The algorithms already do this for a lot of people. You want to talk about how broken a person is? I know a gentleman who lives in Chicago, Illinois, who is Hispanic. His name is last name is Barrios. I'm not trying to dox him fully. I used to call him neighborhoods because the Barrios a neighborhood. He's neighborhoods. He was an Hispanic man who served in the Navy. He would hang out with black people, Hispanic people, white people, Asian people. He used to talk about how much he loved going out and getting his Asian prostitutes all the time. And to this day, he will post videos on Facebook of black people committing crimes and saying that black people are lesser human beings than he is. But every person that comments on his posts are all white people that look like I look, but also have the shades on because that's a whole other problem. And all
Hmm.
his algorithm is filled with is CCTV footage of black people committing crimes or live stream people of black people committing crimes where he's at a point where the black people he was friends with have now started to attack him for his anti-black postings because these people get stuck in bubbles and are convinced. I mean, shit. My mom, we talked about earlier, would tell me that Hispanic people are getting Social Security benefits and SNAP benefits. And I had to bring up articles from the AARP to tell her what you're saying is a lie because she wouldn't believe me offhand. Because where she is in Florida, it's real popular for right wing people to claim on the radio or on the TVs that Hispanic people are stealing SNAP benefits or stealing Social Security benefits. Which, to be fair, hey, it does happen, but it's like a one time event or a minimal timed event that's just exploded to give the illusion that's happening all the time, which is the same problem we have with crime. Look at all the crime that's happening in America. The violent crime rate has gone down since, well, honestly, since we stopped putting lead in gasoline, because there's a whole other study about that. But ever since that, but what's been consistent on television that's watched predominantly by baby boomers? Police television, Law and Order, SVU,
Cops. Yeah.
cops, CIS, freaking all these Dragnet, to even go further, judge shows, Judge Judy, Judge Brown, Judge the People's Court,
Hmm.
to
Yeah,
give
it
you a
romanticizes
heightened
the police state.
sense of danger through this bullshit, non-realistic sense of crime. The romanticization, as Luke said, of the police and enforcement state. So they
Yes,
think the world's more
when
dangerous.
you're on a cop show, yeah, when you think you're on when you're on a cop show and you're a cop, you get pressure, subtle and not so subtle, to make good
Es-
TV.
Escalate something to get
Yes.
good TV.
It's the same thing. I mean, you take regular fucking people and you put them in on Love Island, and all of a sudden you've got bitches throwing drinks in each other's faces. They're shoving each other into the pools and stuff like that. Stuff that these people would probably be like reasonable people, but when you're on TV and they start trying to Jerry Springer some shit, that's really what this is Jerry Springer type shit. I believe one of the recent cop shootings, they was it the one in Madison where they had were they with some cop show?
I'll
No,
let
I'm thinking of something
you think of
else.
something else. I just know the
But it
ones in Madison didn't have body cams, and now they're pushing for them body cams because this isn't
yes.
the first time
The
Madison police killed anybody.
yes. So I mean these cop shows, they give you an extra an inaccurately positive view of the police, an inaccurately negative view of the person being arrested, who is most often a black person, or a person of color, and it desensitizes you to police brutality. Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're throwing around, but they're saying, yeah, you body slam
Get on the
somebody onto the
ground!
ground,
Get
but
on the
they,
ground! Yo, go, go,
yeah,
go.
but they were saying stop resisting.
Yeah,
So they had to have been doing something, right? Remember, the amount of force a police officer is allowed to use is very specifically enumerated in their use of force guidelines, in their conduct manual. And I believe that too many cops are being trained for the violent parts of their job, which you could theoretically have an entire career without having one. I'm not
yeah.
just talking about firing off your pistol. I'm talking about you don't have to strong arm anybody or put anybody in a freaking chicken wing or any of that sort of bullshit. Sometimes you do, but a lot of times you should be getting more de-escalation training, more cultural sensitivity training, so that you learn how to not piss off the people that you're trying to work with and serve and protect. You know, a penny of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and these kinds of social programs, these kinds of trainings would be the invaluable, and it would keep the police officers safe. Remember, if I'm not mistaken, and somebody can correct me, you only get like 6 months of training in the academy. You should get you should have to have a bachelor's degree by the time you're like a full police officer, or maybe it's an associate's degree with a shit ton of community policing and that sort of stuff. And that's what people like Hong mean or have meant when they say defund the police. It means turn the police into something that's a lot more like the police of the suburbs. You okay, sir? You doing okay? All right, let's just keep it moving. Oh, you all right, sir? You're drunk? Cool. Let's get you home. Instead of attempting to bend people to your will and being able to use flock cameras to stalk your exes,
I
which
don't.
apparently is a tremendously big problem
It's a big problem.
in the police department. You guys, if you got one lady and you're not an asshole, become a better person and get a new woman instead of stalking the lady that said no to you. She said no, it's done. It's done. Just leave people alone. And I'm thinking once again about Graham Plattner. She said, don't come over. When are you motherfuckers going to learn that when women say no, they mean it? And if they don't mean it and they're playing games, punish them by doing what they say.
I want to add really quickly.
Stop stalking your girlfriends. Yeah,
I
please.
there's a There is no single national standard for how many hours of de-escalating training police officers receive. Training ranges from a brief 1 hour online module to intensive 24-hour multi-day courses, such as 3-day advanced crisis communication and tactics programs. There are
Right.
currently 21 states that still do not require de-escalation training for their police departments.
And that's not even cultural relevancy training. So, like, for example, you pull over a black person, black people are predisposed culturally and historically to be afraid of the police because they had really good reason to be afraid of the police. So, you need to know how to approach them. You need to know how to talk to them. You need to realize that if you ask them to step out of the fucking car, you are asking, you are questioning, you're putting their life in danger in their mind and potentially in real life. If you don't have training in this, you'll never know it, and it'll just come off as a black person being disrespectful and whatnot, etc. Remember, you need to know these people before you can serve them. You
Yeah.
need to know these people before you can actually get them to work with you and to help you. This is the kind of community policing that we need. Constabulary police instead of the, hey, I'm giving you a lawful order, and then it turns into, I have to be a lawyer, you have to be a cop who's going to fuck me over in some way, and then I have to try and sue you guys on the back end. So I mean, however we got onto this, we have a term called qualified immunity that allows police officers to get away with tremendous malfeasance, and I think that that shit should go away. And I think that that lawsuits in bad policing should be paid out of their pensions. You need skin in the game. And if that means we have fewer fucking police officers for a while, then it means we've got fewer fucking police officers for a while. And maybe that means we'll get more social workers, which we, what we really need. People who can get people out into the kind of mental health services, the kind of homeless or resources services that they need. Because most crime is poverty plus proximity. Poverty plus proximity. I'm robbing you for your money because I need food. I'm robbing you for your money because I need shoes.
The other
We're, you know,
the other problem too is just that when you look at the way that policing is conducted uh, within a region, there's a lot of correlation to the concept. I used to, I remember reading this where the concept for generalized policing, especially when it comes to sections that are known for having higher than normal population of people of color, is that imagine you have a guard tower in the middle of a prison yard, and the guards, there's people all throughout the yard, there's people all throughout the area, uh, and we have the guard as the police. They're only looking in one small section, and that's the only section they ever look in. How often do you think they're ever going to catch a crime in another area if all their attention's on this one spot? And that's why you have such a disparity between the amount of people who are arrested as black for criminal behavior or Hispanic for criminal behavior versus the amount of people who are white for the same criminal behavior. Most of those people get arrested due to call-ins, while more black people are arrested just by general, patrol. And
mhm.
it
Living
becomes
while black.
living
And
while black.
or what is it? Criminalizing black life
Yeah.
is one of the ways that they call it. And also to marry with that statistic, yeah, a shit ton of arrests are black people. What are their dismissal rates?
And
They
like
make up 50% of
like
all acquittal rates.
yeah.
These people are not being arrested, and they're in a racist system that's convicting them too much. So their acquittal rates should actually be higher, statistically speaking. So again, statistics can be made to say a lot of stupid, lying, misinformational bullshit.
The other part of this too, really quickly, is just that a lot of the people that that plead guilty and make plea deals with, because plea deals are done through the attorney generals. Attorney generals have their own way of dealing with this, meaning they can get a guilty verdict without running it through a court, and that guilty verdict effectively is just you know hey, you are going to stay this amount of time in jail, or you're needing going to pay this amount of money out of pocket to defend yourself. And for a lot of poor black people, that's not a reality because of our current bail bond system. So a lot of these people, if everybody wants to look up really quickly, Earl Sampson out of Miami Gardens, Florida, guy got arrested 180 some odd times in his own place of work for loitering, and he pled guilty to over almost half of uh, those accusations because it was easier for him to get out of jail and get back to work because he doesn't have the funds to support having to fight that amount of accusations to prove his
Lawfare.
innocence. Yeah,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so
A lot of
these,
times I know somebody who worked in a school who had to plead out because the evidence wasn't great, but
yeah,
they said this thing is going to take this long. This is what your lawyer's bills are going to be, and you're going to sit in jail for the entire time of it.
yeah, and
So,
that's
or you can go home or you can go home now. You can go home tomorrow
and this is why
and plead guilty.
and this is why to bring this all full circle. Um, that's why I say, and Luke brought it up earlier, your job is to survive the encounter. You guys are out there living your lives. A lot of you don't pay attention to the kind of stuff me and Luke pay attention to because you don't have the luxury of doing it. You don't have the luxury of sitting down and watching videos on political malfeasance or logical fallacies or just the news in general because the world is hitting you so hard, so continuously, and a lot of you are just trying to survive. You're trying to make a life in a world that, for some people, pessimistically, is out to get you. But, and I say this with my whole heart, we hope that just chatting with us, if some of y'all just want to get into a point where you want to chat with us, talk with us, listen to us. We're here to disseminate and decipher and get this stuff out there for you guys because on behalf of Luke and I, we're pulling for you guys and we're all in this together because we want to see you guys thrive and survive and just make sure that we can all get out of this as better people. So have a good one, everybody. All right, bye.